guess I'm the pot pie kind of guy. To me they taste just as good. I'm trying to tell you something. I'm not sure that you'll follow. The surface, it has no depth now. You think that you're hard, you wouldn't if you should consider this an inconvenience. Tell me now and I'll bow out. I'll be on my way. Karma tells me it's not right, but there's something that just can't find. It's you, babe. It's you, babe. I know I may not be your speed, an ordinary Joe. Indeed, that's me, babe. That's me, indeed. I love the taste of cool, fresh air. It's safe to say I've been there. The clouds in the sky. Tell me you noticed them. You got no imagination. Is that something you might see? To do unto others, they say. You be nice to include me. I'm trying to tell you something. I'm not sure that you'll follow. The surface, it has no depth now. It must be that you're shallow, and you must know that I can see right through any games you play to stay away. Today's the day with me. I love the taste of cool, fresh air. It's safe to say, and I've been there. That's you, babe. That's you, babe. The clouds in the sky. You tell me you notice them. Tell me you notice them. Tell me you notice them.
All right, good evening. James Epperson, welcome to Tux TV.
Thank you, Tux.
I hope everybody is able to hear us correctly. I think I did all my tests correct. And
I
we
do
should
have an
be
echo.
coming in. You have an echo?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's because, well, that's because we can
Oh,
never
wait.
have nice things.
No, we're good. I resolved it.
You
I think I
resolved-
resolved it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the program. James is one of my favorite. He was just live streaming. He's one of my favorite. I've been trying to connect with him all week and doing a stream with him. And finally, the time is right. So welcome.
Awesome.
Welcome to the program. How are you doing after your last stream? It sounded like you were a little down on the religious stuff and poo-pooing on that. And unfortunately, I'm going to pile it on. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to make you so sick of talking about religion that you're never going to want to talk about religion ever again.
That's fair. Yeah, go for it. I'm good with that. My therapist would probably agree too.
So what do you think? What do you think the stream's going to be about today? Since you've got a nice title there, and you were trying to figure out what the title meant.
I got no clue.
You don't got no clue?
I got no clue.
You got no clue. All right, let's go. I'm going to go with. I'm gonna go with this right here. I'm gonna full screen this. This is you with Gur Streams, and Gurmania hosting you on his stream. I think on Saturday.
Hmm.
And you made a very interesting comment, so I want to get your feedback on this, and then try to figure out what you're thinking. This is amazing. This amazes me that you could think this way. Okay.
There's the God
Sure.
question. Here's the thing. I used to think of chairs as a type of object. And we normally do, right? A chair is a type of object. We know what one looks like. We know what they do. But then it occurred to me after listening to some of our philosophers in our community. Thank you, Cameron. You rock. After listening to some philosophers, the chair isn't an object type. It is a relationship paradigm. If you're walking through the forest and you're looking for a place to sit, and there's a tree stump somewhere in your vicinity, that tree stump is not a chair yet. But the moment you identify it as a good place to sit, and then, especially when you sit down, it is now functionally a chair. You now have a relationship to that tree stump that you didn't have before you noticed it and before you were looking for a place to sit. So that's now your relationship to that object. It is now a chair.
So it's now a chair.
Hmm. It is
So-
now a chair.
James, what does one do when they come across a chair in the woods, a stump, and it's just a stump? It's formerly one of God's special trees, and you sit on God's one of special trees. Essentially, it's spirit, it's stump, it's graveyard, it's stone. So I just want to checkmate atheists on this. All right. I want to get a clarification here. What do we have here? We have a chair made by man and a chair made by God. Checkmate atheists.
Clearly, the chair made by God is superior.
Clearly, the chair made by
Clearly.
God is superior. It is a handy chair, if anything can say that. And if it's made by cherry wood, it's a cherry hand.
Gosh. Oh, yeah. It sure is there, Tux. I can't argue with that. I mean, it's got. Yeah, it absolutely is.
So you have God's hand in your presence, and what do? You poo-poo on it. This religious talk is just going to bite you in the bum.
Yeah, it is. I mean, what can I say about that? Every splinter I get, I've earned. That's all I could say about it. I've earned it. It's God's wrath upon my ass.
Yeah, I
So-
feel like somebody came across a stump and they carved it into a hand. It is a chair by all intents and purposes. And I think this refutes or supports in a, as B.S. Lewis just said, a yuck yuck. This supports your Heine's argument very well.
Yeah, so somebody had the same thought I did. You know what? They're like, here's a tree, and in this tree, I see a chair. That's what I see. And like any sculptor will tell you, they don't create an object with the marble. They see the object in the marble, and then they reveal it for the world. And that's what somebody did there with that.
Yeah.
They revealed not only that there was a chair within the tree, but also that there was an extension of the human within the tree, because that's the relationship that they have with it. They brought that relationship to other people, and I think that's amazing. And I would love to have that actually. That's a great.
That's a
great
pretty
chair.
that's at a local restaurant that I frequent here
Nice.
here in the Chicagoland area.
So
And
was my point about that, like philosophically, ideologically, was it coherent? Do you think people?
I think so. Like, well, you were basically, if I understood, you're kind of referring to I'll know it when I see it, and the colloquial terms that we use describing things.
Hmm.
Uh, so yes, in that respect, that's what religion is. Like it really is kind of a fabric of our lives, whether we want it to be or not. And
Right.
and that's kind of the way the woods are. You know, it's a fabric of our lives. We want it. Christianity is a fabric of our lives. We don't want it. And that's the gist, I think, of what you're trying to say.
Right. We have a relationship to it, whether we like it or not. It exists within our world. It is relevant to our lives, even if we don't want it to be. And so we have to decide how we're going to relate to it, what it's going to be to us. And the same thing is true of Christians. This is why Christianity is really a choose your own adventure religion. It's what relationship do you want to have to this conceptualized entity? What form is this going to take for you? And how are you going to relate to that form? So people look around and they're like, I need me a God chair, and they find one. And somebody in the forest looks around and they need me a good sturdy tree chair, and they find one of those.
Hmm.
And I'm okay with that. It's just, when they try to make everybody else sit in their chair, right? Sit here or else. Partake of my tree chair or else. Then it becomes a problem for all of us, right?
Getting a lot of James love tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, BS and Hillary's emails. So, just imagine, you go into a elementary school and there's "In Chair We Trust" plastered across the hallways. And, if somebody believes in more than one chair, they know that that slogan isn't about them. It is not inclusive to them. Because if it were, it would have said "In chairs we
Hmm.
trust," right? "In chair we trust" means my special chair and not any of yours, right? That's what the hell that means. And so, whether it's on the back of and a bumper sticker in the back of a cop car, or anywhere else, or on money, when we say we see that "In chair we trust," we know who the hell's chair they're talking about. That chair that they specifically crafted and they want to make everybody sit in. We know, right? Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Do you believe for a second that this chair came from the miracle of God? And in that I refer to it just appeared that way. It grew that way.
So here's what I think. I think that one of my favorite movie scenes about miracles was from Bruce Almighty, where the God character explained to Bruce is, if you want to see a miracle, be the miracle, right? So there's this real world application to the idea. We don't have to say it's about magic. We can make it real in terms of
Hmm.
how we relate to the concept, and talk about extraordinary events in people's lives that lead to extraordinary lives, right? So, and then if we think of God as this conceptualized entity within the mind, which ultimately ends up being the way that we relate to ourself, right? A partitioned part of the mind that we experience ourself through. So, if somebody walking through the woods saw this tree, and this conceptualized entity within their mind inspired them, well, that phenomena in their brain exists. It's really happening, no matter where it comes from. And if they're inspired by it, then they just are. And if they see a tree in the chair before anybody else does, then they just do. And if they decide to reveal that tree to the world, then there you go. They've done so, and they brought that to us. And as long as they're not making me sit in it, I'm absolutely thrilled that they've created this piece of art and this functional object for our real world that people can utilize in an appropriate way if they feel a need to sit there, right? And my biggest objection would be, don't spend the rest of your life there sitting still, right? Don't get so comfortable in this chair, in this entity, in this relationship paradigm, that you never outgrow it, that you never move past it, that you never learn, or that you forget that you can walk. You can stand and you can walk under your own power. You can direct your own steps, right? And later on, if you still want that chair, it's probably going to be there still for you. And if it's not, you can find another one. And if nothing is as good, you can make one yourself. And I think that there's a lot of value we can take from that idea. So I don't mind at all that somebody fashioned that. If we want to call a miracle of God, sure. Depending on how we define miracle and depending on how we define God, absolutely a miracle of God. And praise be He. Praise be He.
Would you suspect that trees grow pretty nicely? We see this happen on a regular occurrence. And you stumble upon a stump that could be turned into a hand just like this, and you have the vision or maybe even the experience of having done it. Is there anything about that chair that says to you, that is a miracle?
In the sense of Bruce Almighty's beat a miracle, yes. But in the sense of supernatural, no. And so but that's always my position, right? Because supernatural isn't a thing. And I've explained this before. Like, supernatural isn't a wrong concept. It's not a concept. It's a placeholder for a concept that the speaker does not possess. So until they possess something, they have nothing to offer the discussion, any discussion whatsoever. So, is it a miracle in the secular sense? In the colloquial sense of, is this extraordinary? Is this inspiring? Is this potentially life-changing? Absolutely. Depending on where you're coming from, where you're going, and if you need a place to sit, or even if you just want to be inspired by the art itself, absolutely it's a miracle.
So what you've said, I just want to, have you ever seen The Music Man?
The Music Man. Is this a Broadway play?
It is. It's a Broadway play. It was made into a musical in the 60s. I want to play a clip from that. I might get a copyright strike, but who cares? It's not like I'm getting paid to do this for a living.
Fair. Let's do it.
So this is the scene towards the end where this is a con man. He comes to town. He's supposed to bilk the town out of their hard-earned money and then move on to the next town, bilk the next town. And Nitty's here. Let's add the
streaming
Nitty.
on my channel, you little stinker.
I know. I figured you needed.
It's fine.
I figured you
Hijack.
needed some content, and I was glad to
you're good.
participate. So
You're good.
the
I actually was
gist of
thinking about
this-
coming on anyway tonight, so
Oh,
you're
that's good.
Nice.
Yeah, I told the missus I was going to try to be on for like 20 minutes. She's like, "How come every time you say that, you're down there for 2 hours?" I'm like, you got me. And now Nitty's here. There's no doubt. I'm going to go over this 20 minutes. But as to what you're saying, he stays in town. He falls in love with one of the maidens in the town. And he basically uses what you were saying, James, to overcome his inability to actually teach and be who he's the con man he's supposed to be. Kind of becomes the man he's supposed to be and sold himself to be. And it's all kind of based on the power of positive thinking ish. And this is the result of he hasn't been teaching the kids, but what I'll play it and then I'll reiterate. I'll swing back around.
That's my Barney! That tuba's my Barney!
Wonderful, Barney.
That's Eddie! That's Eddie's clarion now! Linus!
So as you can
Play
see,
to me, son!
he's in handcuffs. He's about ready to be tarred and feathered. And they're playing this crappy tune that they've been practicing all summer. But look at the appreciation from the parent. Look at the
Wow.
appreciation from the kid. And that's that's it. It is, I mean,
That's-
it's a cup half full in some
Is that
respects.
Is that Christianity? Is that the cup half full? Is
Yeah,
that
the
the
cup half
grift? the grift that so many people felt personally connected to that we didn't carry anybody away in handcuffs.
Yeah, I mean, how many times was you can't have Paul imprisoned in in is it Rome? He's in prison in Rome in Acts
Yeah.
Yeah.
14, I think. He's in prison in Rome, so this is the type of con man I think we're dealing with. But if you're presented with the evidence that here's the miracle, and everybody starts to see it when everybody sees the crappy miracle, that's not really a miracle, but that's what they want to see and that's what they want to hear. All of a sudden, the con man doesn't seem so con-like. It's actually an appreciation. And keep in mind, in the first century, if you were able to accomplish what Paul accomplished, even if it's con, it has done the fabric of the world, I believe, for a time, a good service. Would be ahead of where we're at now by several centuries, potentially. I mean, you're looking at the pace that in my lifetime, in nearly 50 years of memory keeping, how much so how much we've progressed.
Right. How much we
So-
have and how much we haven't. But yeah, how
Yeah.
much we have.
Like,
You know.
How much we're
Maybe.
fighting tooth and nail to maintain the progress. Jesus.
yeah.
And that's been an issue
That
for
too.
me. How do we keep moving forward, and especially faster? How do we do that as a society, as a people, not just as a community? What are we missing? What are we doing right? What are we failing to do?
Well, we're kind of in our infancy. At least our little network. James, you're struggling with this. You're not getting paid to do this. Only
Nope.
do this if you want to.
Right.
Only do this stuff. Nitty, you and I have had the discussion a couple of times about where do we go from here. Just be
Right.
you, be sincere, and do your best to either succeed in the community and build it, or do your best, Lee Strobel, and make a fortune. I don't care which.
That's fair.
It's
Right.
Look,
really
I've got
doesn't-
something to confess to y'all. I was an internet YouTube atheist, okay? And when you get down that rabbit hole, all right, we've got a few things we've got to nail down. We've got to work out. We've got to flesh this out so that we all can be on the same page about what it means to be a skeptic and an unbeliever, okay? I'm good.
Yes,
Nice.
exactly.
Channeling Strobel. The Strobel light.
Yeah, I speaking of him, he was at my former church's like summer conference and like did the whole like, oh, here's my story and it's so amazing what Jesus can do and save my marriage and he saved blah blah blah. Like and now I'm here to talk to you all about the great evidence we have for the resurrection.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
And then Nitty became Catholic.
Oh, how's my hair? I've almost got the lights powered by my Patreon
That's
page.
true.
Nice.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
I just
BS,
need
BS that my lights are powered by her. That is brilliant.
that was so good.
That's a nice little. Yeah.
Well, I just need SJ to come here more, and then I'll just convert. It'll be over.
SJ gets you going.
Totally. Yeah.
It's been a while. Is she still? Is Kip, Dr. Kip, and her still kind of having
don't
digs
know.
at each other?
I don't know. What I do know though is that when I see the Crypt Keeper telling me how much the miracle of Fatima and her people in her chat have been healed, I mean, whew,
Yeah.
I'm in another realm.
Talk about the con man making it look good.
Right. I mean, it's so transparently not to really talk about the healings, right?
Hey, BS. Are you on Discord? You're on Discord, right?
Which chat? Because we're on 2 channels, so it's a.
I think both chats come into here though,
Oh, right.
but James might not be looking.
So, what was the original topic of the stream?
The original topic was here. Let's go back and play. We'll play a little bit more. We'll
So, is it
Can
just
replay
the
it.
idea of like what the con was and like the attitudes of like Paul the Apostle, or what?
We started off with a clip from a discussion that I had with Gurr a few days ago,
Oh,
this last
okay.
week.
Yeah.
And I said something that caught Tux's attention, and he wanted to kind of give me a hard time about
Here's
it,
the
which
thing.
I've enjoyed.
and I'll restart it for you. This
I
is what
used
the
to think of
conversation's about.
chairs as a type of object, and we normally do, right? A chair is a type of object. We know what one looks like. We know what they do. But then it occurred to me after listening to some of our philosophers in our community. Thank you, Cameron. You rock. After listening to some philosophers, a chair isn't an object type. It is a relationship paradigm. If you're walking through the forest and you're looking for a place to sit, and there's a tree stump somewhere in your vicinity, that tree stump is not a chair yet. But the moment you identify it as a good place to sit, and then, especially when you sit down, it is now functionally a chair. You
So you got that, Nitty?
Are we getting into type?
Checkmate, atheists. Checkmate.
So, is this like type token distinctions type of stuff?
That is a chair made out of a stump of wood. God miraculously made it all by itself. We call it the handy chair by God.
Wow.
Or if it's made by a cherry tree, it might be the cherry hand.
the hand of God.
It's the hand of God.
The hand has one job.
Yes. Yes.
To support, to hold your ass up.
This is it.
So, where is this going? Is this like because
This is it. Are you kidding? This is high class white trash entertainment, folks.
And I don't have any alcohol today.
I haven't had any yet. I've got 3 empty cans from last night.
Yeah.
I haven't cleaned up, and I take garbage out to the curb tomorrow because we're in observance. 1 day late of observance.
New Year's.
Yeah, for New Year's.
Oh yeah. Huh? So here's the thing.
So-
I enjoy talking about religion. It's not that I hate it, right? Because I just had like a 20-minute stream about why I want to quit talking about religion. It is not that it pains me. I don't do it because I think just people want me to or because they need me to. That's on the list. But I just feel like that's what the community is interested in. But I don't stream about religion topics at all until I feel inspired to do so. You know, if I see something, if the algorithm feeds me something or somebody in the community brings something to me and it's an issue I care about and I feel qualified to speak on and I feel like, damn it, someone needs to address this, then I'll go live and we'll talk about it, right? So it's not like I hate talking about it. A friend of mine whom I've known for years and trust deeply has brought to my attention today a very critical view of that. They feel like I am not staying true to my higher self or my nobler self or walking the path to my better self to spend so much time criticizing religion, talking about negative issues. And she's like, look, yeah, you want people to know about all the bad things that happen in the Catholic Church and in evangelical churches. She said, but people know, right? Everybody knows that you probably shouldn't let your kids go on a camping trip at church. And if they don't know, nothing that I say on my channel is going to make the difference. Because the people that need to hear it, they're not at my channel. The people that are ready to hear it, they already know. And so I'm giving all kinds of my personal resources to these issues. And what am I accomplishing, right? I'm giving more of my personal resources to religion than it's already stolen from me in my life. And half the time I talk about it, I love talking about it. The other half the time, I'm stealing my own peace to talk about it. And really, most of the people in my channel aren't there because, oh, I never knew about this thing. They're there because it's part of the community. It's like a bar hopping, cheers bar kind of a thing. You show up, there's people there that you know and that you like, and maybe a person or two that you don't like. And it's interesting, right? It's it's that whole cheers bar vibe. And they let I think most of the people liked my presentation, how I talk about things. But those people, I think most of the people that show up in my channel aren't there specifically because it's a religion topic. And sometimes maybe they are. But I think for the most part, they're there for the community and because they like the way that I present things, right? That's it. So if I want to talk about something that isn't so heavy and so negative and so toxic, um, I could, and people would still show up for it. And so and I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it sounds like it's probably right to me. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Go ahead, Nitty.
I so I you know I want my channel to be and it frustrates the Christians I interact with that they're like, oh, your channel's all over the place, I don't want to engage with you. Well, it's like life is a mess, man. Like what mine's like just a real life experience of being in the YouTube apologetics religious and irreligious space, so deal with it, and I'm having fun with it. And I think
Yeah.
I want people to come to my channel for the same reason it sounds like you want people to come to your channel, is to have a safe place to land, community people to talk to, and we enjoy talking about this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are some days where it's going to hit like a car accident for our emotions, and other days where it's going to be giddy and silly and slap and tickle or dry and boring, but we learn
Right.
something really fun or really pivotal in our understanding of the ancient Near East. And like getting through all that content is a labor of love for the people around us, right?
Yeah.
Like that we're gonna do it when it's easy, we're gonna do it when it's hard, and we're gonna do it when it's boring. Like it's kind of like we've gotten married to YouTube and the people who come to our channels, and we're
Yeah.
in sickness and in health, in boredom, in flatulence, and in sleepy narco nitty.
Narco
You're
Nitty.
stuck. You're stuck with us.
Nice.
Yeah, they're very nice. And yeah, I get all that too. I'm so torn between it because I like talking about these issues. But when I look at somebody like Matt Dillahunty, and I keep using him for an example, maybe I need to find some more examples, but he's the example I have. He's got, trauma from his religious parents and the estrangement between himself and them because they make everything about their religion and they see him through the context of their lens. And he's this unwashed heathen that has rejected the Lord, and it has really like strained the relationship and made it toxic. And he's not at peace with that, nor should he be, really. But when I see him spend so much time on these call shows and these other kinds of debates, the dude is just really, really quick to anger. What it looks to me is he's got some kind of PTSD or religious trauma, just like I have, and he's not healing. I think he needs a year or two away from it, at least. I think he needs time to like make his life be about something else. He's already made enough money. Take a break. I think that he needs to heal. Now, is that me? Is this triggering my PTSD and preventing me from healing? I don't know, but my friend thinks it is. My friend thinks that it's all these discussions, even though they're important, are anchoring me to an entire domain that I've given too much to, that steals my peace, and that kind of feeds my anxiety and my negativity and my misanthropy and my low latent anger. And she thinks I'd be better off if I focused on something else. No, she's not a therapist or anything. And I think she would feel that way no matter who is talking about religion. She kind of feels like it's not something anybody should be talking about, because if you hear about it on the news or if you've lived your life in this world, you already have a pretty good idea of what's happening out there in the religious sphere. You don't necessarily need YouTube to tell you about it. And I don't think she's completely right about that. The news doesn't cover all the issues that we cover, and these are important
Right.
issues. So what I told her is somebody needs to be talking about these things, but I'll admit it doesn't have to be me. And so, is it good for me to be talking about it? And I guess the answer is I don't know. And is that the path, or should I be spending that much time on something that isn't building me up? Right? I'm helping others, or at least I imagine that I'm helping others. I don't know that I really am helping anybody, but it's not. I mean, it's not padding my wallet, and it's not curing my PTSD. It's not
Right.
helping me sleep better at night. Like, what is it doing that I couldn't do? What is anything on YouTube doing for me that I couldn't do by talking about more positive issues? And I guess I don't know what the answer to that is.
Here's a question. You ready, James?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Should professional football players keep playing football?
No.
Okay.
I knew that's not the answer you wanted, so I gave you the other answer. I gave you the curveball.
Right. Well, okay. So wait, hold on. Should let's think of it in something a little bit more like non-trivial, right? Like, I agree. I don't think they should play it anymore. But ask the same question to a professional football player. What do you think their answer is going to be? Well, I know that this could hurt me, but I think the entertainment, the joy of the game are just so much more important that I'm willing to risk my well-being to produce this result, right? The same would go for any kind of like extreme sports performer or extremely dedicated athletes. And then, okay, so what about a social worker? Should a social worker keep doing social work if their primary what do you call them, like the people they service are like, child sex crime victims, right? That will disturb the soul. That's not going to contribute to your well-being. Or I have a friend who did information technology stuff for the police, and they saw things on computers that did not contribute to their well-being, but
No.
that work needs to be done, and that stuff needs to be documented to put
Right.
criminals into prisons, right? Or prosecute, whatever, right? But are you going to tell them to stop doing that
No.
work because it doesn't
that's a-
contribute to their well-being? Of course not.
Right, and those are great examples because someone's got to do it. So I disagree with my friend when they say it's something nobody needs to do. They're simply wrong about that, but they don't get it.
Right.
They don't understand. But at
Yeah.
the same time, am I the guy? Here's what I think about therapists. I think we
Am
need
I
to
the
have-
guy? Yeah, we got to have
Am I
that
the
question.
guy?
Well, but I think there's here's where I would pivot a little bit, where it's like, you are the ultimate judge of whether or not you are still adequately able to keep doing that kind of work, right? The
Yeah.
social worker is responsible for saying, you know what, I've seen too much. I need to step back and find something else. And someone young with the energy and emotional capacity, or lacking emotional capacity, can do this
Right.
work, right? And the same goes for YouTube, right? Like, oh yeah, I keep finding myself spinning my fucking wheels with this kind of theist or that kind of theist or this particular debate topic. I need to put it the fuck down until I calm down, or something, right? Or just
Mhm.
drop it indefinitely until things change or I learn something new. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes perfect sense. So then, am I doing any good? Am I doing any good in the community by talking about these things? Providing a landing space, right, like you said, is valuable, and I want to be one of the
Mhm.
people that do that. But can I do that without talking about the latest horrible thing that religious fundamentalists have said or done in our community or in our world? Um, I don't know. What am I missing? Am I missing something good in the chat?
I'm
do
about to crack a terrible joke.
Do it.
Do you know who Nick Avocado is?
Nope.
He's this YouTuber that went like crazy on his health like a decade ago, and became like super fit, like
Mhm.
super body conscious and stuff, and then became a mukbang YouTuber. Ooh. He goes
What's a
by
muk-
Nikocado.
What's a muk-
And he's just like morbidly obese and like will not quit. Mukbang, it's when you just shove a bunch of food in your mouth and you live stream it.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. So he went
Yeah,
from
so
super fit to super not fit. Why?
because he's fed by the algorithm quite literally. So at this point in the chat, you could go Frederick
Oh.
Nietzsche and lose yourself like a YouTube created madness. Yeah, we'll all be Nicocados spiritually. We're just balls deep in the sadomasochism of our intellect.
That's probably true too, and I don't think my friend gets that either. That I can't even argue that point. There's a certain madness that comes with genius for sure. Now I'm not saying I'm a genius, but the more IQ points you have, the more it's a problem because you become more and more aware of just how screwed you are, just how messed up the world is, and it becomes harder and harder to find your place in it, right? And there's a certain bliss for ignorance. There just is.
What are we
And
drinking, Tux?
A black Bach, Schwarzbach.
Ooh, wow,
Yeah,
nice.
nice.
a
Very
Schwarzbach.
dark, very
So,
mysterious, very edgy.
Yes, yes.
So-
my cheers to all.
Cheers.
My
So
giant mug.
yeah, I don't have a mug.
Anyway, we'll go on.
I got big old meaty hands. I just grabbed an entire 2 liter and that's my mug.
Nice.
One hand, chug it down.
That's
So
right, folks. He drinks like a man.
So if you remember Tux a few weeks ago, Jay was talking about the struggle he was having with his mom and trying to figure out how to have a difficult conversation with her. And it was really relevant to the entire community because many people in our community are at that place or nearing that place in their journey, right? They that's where they're at too. How do you have those discussions? And I shared my thoughts with him about how I would come at it, like the disposition and the attitude, the tone of voice, the choice of words, the way I would frame the narrative so that it was about him and not her. And then I brought that also. We came over here and we finished the discussion on your channel. And while I did that, I was able to talk about this very time sensitive, very, very emotionally sensitive issue that was directly about people's struggles with religion, but I was able to do it without bashing religion. And
Yeah.
if I could just find a way to be able to tackle that full range of issues without saying, therefore your religion sucks, without where I just frame it in such a way that even people that are on the other side of the fence can listen without feeling like they want to like kill me, like right, like they or to perform an exorcism, right?
You
Then
dirty
I'd be
heathen.
good. I'd be golden.
Well,
But that's it's easier said than done with certain topics because you want to talk about the problems within. So here's an example that I made with my friend. I'm like, look, you're right. There's good people and bad people across the spectrum, believers and non-believers alike, and there are saintly people and monster people across the aisle. But here's the thing: in churches, there is this structure where people are told that there is a literal infallible superpowered spirit that is flowing through the hearts and minds and lives of the people that are active in the church, right? The youth pastor and the main pastor and other people that are in the church. And it creates this atmosphere where people think that they can trust these people who they barely know with their children away for either a weekend or an entire 6 weeks at some kind of summer camp. And so because there's these opportunities here and this exaggerated unwarranted degrees of trust with children that isn't a problem for atheists because we don't have those structures to do that with, and because none of us posture as necessarily moral or virtuous or whatever just because we don't believe in a god. We understand that there's no real connection between the two ideas. You can be awful and not believe in a god. We readily admit this, right? And then there's the fact that these positions of access to children that come with this undue trust um, is a magnet to predators, because they look around in their community, in their world, and they think, okay, I want to do some horrible shit to somebody's kids, and maybe they don't have their own, or maybe their own are grown or whatever, and they're looking around, and atheism doesn't offer that, but religion does. Religion's got these positions where, for very little investment and for very little evidence of your virtue, and with no real background check, you get to take a whole bunch of underage children, right? A whole bunch of children, other people's children, on camping trips into summer camp, right? And you get to oversee all that stuff, right? Or even just weekend events in the local town where you're just alone with other people's kids. And of course, predators are going to look at that and say, "Cha-ching!" Right? There's my opportunity, right? And so it creates a situation where there's motive and opportunity, and so crimes happen, and that is not a problem that happens like that in the atheist community. Now, an individual who doesn't believe in a god, who happens to be a horrible person secretly, yes, they can and probably will do some seriously bad shit to somebody, right? But they're not getting nearly as many opportunities as somebody plugged into a religious structure that gives them the cloak of righteousness and then hands them the keys, right? It's just not the same. And so of course
Sure.
it's a bigger problem in the churches than it is among atheists. And I think there's a lot of people in our community where they're co-parenting, whether they live with their religious spouse or whether they're divorced from a religious spouse. They're co-parenting underage children with somebody religious, and they're wrestling with, what do I tell my children when my spouse is saying God is real, and then they give it a narrative specific to a Bible or something, and then the other parent's like, crap, I can't not challenge that, but I also can't challenge it. It's going to confuse the child. What in the hell do I do? Right.
Double
And
bind. Welcome to my life.
yes, it is an impossible situation. And so, meanwhile, while that's happening, there are some people who are newly deconverted, including people in our community. And it has not yet occurred to them, or at least it might not have yet occurred to them, that abuse is as rampant as it is in the churches, and that maybe they need to re-examine just how much access these people that they're used to trusting on bad reason should or shouldn't have to their children at extended trips, right? Maybe at least this conversation is worth having with your spouse or with your ex. Maybe that conversation, put all the other stuff on a shelf, maybe that conversation by itself is worth having. Now, the news isn't going to bring that to your attention, right? In your family and casual conversation, or your workplace, or where you go to school at, or buddies you fish with, they're not going to bring it up probably. So here we have so many people in our community that are in very transitional and vulnerable periods in their life, and they have children, and I feel like somebody needs to raise these issues, right? And I don't know, like, I haven't seen Pelagia tackle it. I haven't seen Drew from Genetically Modified Skeptic tackle it. I don't even think I've seen Uncle Bobby hit that up yet. In fact, I don't even think Jay has gone directly to that issue yet. If he has, I just wasn't there. I don't know. But my point is, that's just one example out of many that I think someone needs to be talking about. And if it's not me, I don't know for sure it'll be somebody else in our community.
Hmm.
And so I got this friend who's very critical of that, who feels like you shouldn't criticize religion. I know that that's too far to go. Somebody needs to criticize religion. So then the issue is, does that need to be me? Could it be somebody else? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
That one's really hard. I mean, because ooh, you gotta. There's a whole bunch of things that you almost have to, unfortunately, like. There's a YouTube channel. Let's try it this way. There's a YouTube channel called This Is Monsters, and his entire existence, he's fantastic, and he's a hilarious dude from Canada. He documents and recounts the case details, the police files, the TV footage, the crime scene photos of just heinous crimes, right? Now, what you're essentially, I think, for that topic in particular, that's basically what you would need to be doing. That you would need to be like, you're going to basically make a cumulative case of how widespread and frustrating and rampant this kind of abuse is in these kinds of organizations and power structures with bad or unfounded trust relationships, to help people see the magnitude of what's going on with that. But I think what Jay said earlier is the Christian superpower comes into play, that, well, in our belief, anyone, even if they are in our community, who does that, they just don't really understand the love of Jesus. They weren't really a Christian. So we can't blame our beliefs on this, right? There's nothing in our beliefs that is causing this, right, behavior. It's that person's evil sins.
Right.
They're
They say that,
broken. Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's such ridiculousness because their beliefs did cause it. Because their beliefs, the things that they preached to the people in the church was, you know what? If somebody here has the Spirit of God within them, you'll know because they will testify to the truth, right? Even Jesus says this. That's how you know.
Yeah.
And so these people obviously can be trusted with your children, right? Because you're here. The Lord brought you to this church. The Lord is working in your life, clearly, or you wouldn't be here. The Lord is working in our life, clearly, or we wouldn't be here. The Lord is watching out over your children, especially in this environment.
Yeah,
Wh-
I getcha. Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, it's not just the Catholic Church that's been, you know, they've gotten the
Well,
most heat. But right now, there are legal battles going on with the Southern Baptist Conference
Mhm.
over primarily physical abuse and protecting the abuser. Jehovah's Witnesses are still reeling with some of their issues. The Catholic Church keeps getting revisited. In fact, I just saw a report in Reuters, I think middle of last week, about the states that had extended statute of limitations. The churches that were in those states started filing bankruptcy at a pretty alarming rate to prevent, just to counter what the states had done to allow for longer statute of limitations to occur. So that's a sign that the church is kind of playing dirty. So to say that what was said here before about, I think Jack said something about tribalism instead. So I don't think the issues are raised or unique to religion as much as they are in the basis, or I'm sorry, is to the bias, tribalism, and tendency to lean into groupthink.
I
So
think.
Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead, Nini.
yeah. So I said in the chat that I can largely agree with that as like a sentiment, and I think it's important to have very qualified trust when it comes to, like, your own kids, other people's kids, and all that shit. But I guess with what James is, I think, gearing towards is that we're associate or those organizations that are very prominent in our culture and are being given that qualified trust, but it's unfounded, right? And people don't slow down long enough to think, maybe these people or this situation hasn't earned my qualified trust for my kids, right? To slow down and say, no, 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 hold on. Let me really think about and talk with and get to know the people that are going to be with my child, all that kind of stuff. And that's not going to be a 100% like abuse, protection, but it could maybe go a longer way. The other thing is that, um, at least in America and the greater part of Europe, I mean, throughout the centuries, religious groups are, when they're in places of cultural power, make it much more difficult to actually end this kind of, not end, but like even like prosecute or get justice for the abused, and adequately punish or address the causes from the abuser, right? It does nothing except obfuscate the justice uh, process, because they want to either protect their flock, protect something, protect the semblance of virtue, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Someone's protecting something, especially themselves, like the
Hmm.
Ravi Zachariases of the fucking world.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when I look around at other kinds of groups and that may encourage some form of group bias or group tribalism or whatever, I'm not seeing any other groups other than religious groups that tell people by the hundreds per church that you can trust people here in positions of authority more than you can trust just some random people, right? Because God is with us. God is looking over your children. God led you here. God put us here. God directs our hands as far as who we appoint as youth pastor, et cetera, like that. So, you can definitely trust these people with your children, right? In fact, if you don't trust us with your children, it may kind of be a form of not trusting God. And who wants to be guilty of that? You either believe that we are God's people and the Spirit moves with us and that the Lord is watching over you and your children, or you don't. Now, I don't know of any companies or clubhouses or any groups that talk like that except religious groups and churches. Nobody else does. Period. And that's a problem. So you can have any kind of group where people like Boy Scouts of America or something, where people want to take their kids camping, and we know that has gone badly. But at least with an organization like that, they don't say, oh well, your kids are safe because the Lord has led you to us, and the Lord is watching out over them, and the Lord has appointed these people in these positions of authority over your children while you're gone. Like, they don't take that extra step, right? But churches do. And because people in churches have been trained intentionally to have that kind of trust, to say, okay, I believe you, and I believe that God is watching over and directing your hand, because it does not belong to man even to direct his own step. So clearly this is the will of the Lord, right? And so your children go out and they go camping, then you find out, oops, guess what happened, right? Maybe you find out when they get back, and maybe you find out 20 years later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's like, that doesn't happen in atheist circles. So an individual atheist can be awful and do awful things, but they don't have nearly as much access to do those kinds of horrible things unless they go to a church and become a youth pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't. So I mean, there you go. It's motive and opportunity, and that's a real problem. And that is
BS.
very specifically religious and not anything else.
Yeah, BS brings up a pretty good point. Harmonic Atheist has been going through quite a struggle
Hmm.
in both home and church, former church life, because of some of these things things that should have been corrected by now are still continuing. It's this
Hmm.
business as usual.
I
But
I would trust the public at my local mall with my children alone before I would trust leaving them at the Ark encounter.
Right, right, right.
I've never been to
Right.
the Ark Encounter. Has anybody been to the Ark Encounter?
No, but
Yeah.
just like 100%, I would trust leaving them alone with it, with all the cameras everywhere, a couple security guards, and I could be doing anything else in that
Mm-hmm.
mall and not have eyes on
Yes.
them, and I would still be more confident that I could find them in that mall again and they'd be fine.
Yeah.
But I would not have that confidence at a week-long summer camp.
Mm-mm.
Not a chance. I'd be like, what the hell's going on over there? I'm gonna freak out when that can or might become a thing. Just
Gorgeous
saying.
Roddy, welcome.
Hey there, Roddy.
Yeah, I wanted to. Fenton had brought up a good point about Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous has their roots in the Christian faith.
Oh yeah.
So their whole program was designed to be a pseudo Christian religion. I don't remember. I don't know if they had some sort of incentive or funding that was attached to something else, but it started out as a Christian faith-based platform disguised in the secular world. I read an article, I think in the Atlantic, sometime in the past, about the origins of Alcoholics Anonymous and why it mirrors Christianity so well.
Yeah.
The original
It's
group
groups
was
like
Oxford Group. Yeah,
my
I'll take your word for it.
my former church has a Alcoholics Anonymous adjacent ministry to try and bring people from that life situation into it, and they call it Hope Ministries or whatever. And yeah, it runs much along the same kind of lines. But then they basically like do like stuff that's like love bombing type. So it's all the AA stuff plus some community love bombing to get them hooked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it had some sort of funding, and that funding didn't want it to be specifically religious based, but it still was religious created. From the article that I read. So, well, you know, here's the thing. There's a lot of people in this world that get very wealthy because of Christianity. And for instance, we were talking about the S.J. Thompson and the people who are claiming miracles. Anybody who knows how to play the game, they can get very wealthy. I know how to play the game. I've had a vision. Showed me how to become, in my opinion, very wealthy as a Christian evangelist in some form or fashion. Mm-hmm. So to say that you put a couple of plants someplace and you help them out or make them think that they're being helped out or prop them up as your token achievement, then put the in queue line behind them for Jesus and watch it grow, you'll make a crap ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
You can seed faith the shit out of it.
Yeah.
So I think, if you've ever spent any time on Clubhouse, in the rooms, in some of the rooms associated with miracle workers, they're desperate people, and there's plants. And you get them all together and you stir the pot, and guess what you get? You get people who believe they've been cured. Sometimes the power of positive thinking, like we saw with the clip from the Music Man.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's, the seed faith in which I needed $1,374.68 just to do X. And you wouldn't believe it, but I got a check in the mail for just that exact amount.
Hmm.
And I hear it. I hear it just about
So
some variation of that just about any time I'm around any kind of faith and seed faith healer.
I want to go back to what Jack said a little bit about isn't religion good at it? Um, so some are, some aren't. You look at something like the wheels might be have fallen off for someone who joined, Heaven's Gate, or someone who joined Jehovah's Witness. But the wheels are still very much off while they're in that group. They just, to them, right? It's providing structure, authority, um,
Codependence.
restrictions, codependence. Um, it's basically shackling them to something to prevent them from thinking about the thing that's hurting them or doing the behavior that was hurting them, right? But the ideas that they have, the community of people they're around, and the activities they're participating in are dysfunctional
Mm.
or and not uh good, right? Most people would say, whoa, don't become a Jehovah's Witness to put the wheels on your life. Don't join a Heaven's Gate type cult, right? Even though to that person this seems like a great change to be made, but there are other belief structures that are good at it, but they're just as false and just as frustrating, and maybe even more so, to get yourself out of those ways of thinking later on. And I think of myself, right? Like, to some extent, in my early 20s, when I was lonely, kind of suicidal, didn't know how to get on my feet, and, uh, develop my own personal character, that's when the church was there and got me hooked, right? But then, the wheels being on for me is, Nitty, when you sin, Jesus was being ripped apart on the cross for that, right? Nitty, when you have an impulsive or compulsive thought, that's your sin nature, which you can't demonstrate exists anyway. But you're never going to get rid of that. You might struggle with that your whole life, right? Your idea that you shouldn't live anymore. Ah, gee, you might just struggle with that your whole life, or you shouldn't be a parent, or whatever it is that I went through, or that little baby that you just had. That, you see, they're a sin factory. They deserve hell. Just by the nature of being born, they deserve hell. So it's your mission to make sure that they know about your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Now that's the wheels being on when I'm a Christian. But now it's like, what? Like, why did I think this? Why did I want to perpetuate this? Why did I think that that was good and normal, right? It was because I had all that other stuff going on. I had the structure, I had the authority, I had the codependency, my dopamine levels getting hit from teaching and preaching the Bible and talking about these esoteric issues and spiritual things in these little groups of these people that I saw 4 or 5 times a week, right? Um, so, and I'm constantly being told that at some level, there's some new spiritual maturity to reach. There's this goal that you can never actualize, but you're
Mm-hmm.
always pursuing it. And that to me is wheels off. That's fucked up. But to the Christian, oh yes, we want to be more righteous like Christ. We need to be more fully knowing him. What the fuck does that even mean? Like, seriously, let's put that on a measurable scale and then say, like, aha, you're somewhere. You've made real progress. No, everyone's making that up. Everyone around you's making that up. But when you're in it, you don't see it for what it is. It's a hamster wheel. It's an infinite treadmill to existential dread eventually, when you're completely honest with yourself. and that to
Hmm.
me is wheels off, right? But the religion has gotten rid of enough of the really, really deleterious stuff to surviving that people are like, well, see, the wheels are on for them, but really they're not.
Right.
Because
So
they stopped the drinking, they stopped yelling at their wife as much, right? They're holding down a job, right? But really, you're gonna set the bar there for wheels on when there's all this other like emotional and social stuff and other personal values that are going on in the core of that person that aren't as obvious. That's still wheels on for you, okay?
fair, fair. So I'm curious what Seeking is talking about when they say, "Now I feel crappy because I suck." I don't know if they
No.
meant that or if
Seeking, I want you to get out a mirror and just look yourself in the eyes and say, I am gray. Now, if you actually have gray hair, I'm sorry, I do too. Just not as obvious from my colors and lighting and stuff. Just say to yourself, I am gray. I am a new page every day. Uh, I am not the sum. I am the sum of all the decisions I make, the decisions that help people, the decisions that also hurt people. But guess what? Tomorrow's another day to try and help people, help myself.
mm, yep, yep.
You
So
are not evil. You are not all good. Nobody is.
yeah, we're all a mix. We're all a mix of wonderful and awful, and we just have to make peace with it and try to wake up every day and say, "I'm going to be better than who I was yesterday." That's all we can expect of ourselves.
I can agree with this. I'm going to be snarky. I can agree with this when everyone else is a cannibal, maybe.
Nice.
Fair.
How about a video? How about a little bit of
Sure.
a video? Because we're talking about this. Does anybody know Derek from Atheologica?
Yeah, Derek Bennett. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's
He's
great.
one of Derek,
He's
Mythfish and Derek's friends.
great. Yes.
So, loving you too, Seeking, and hope you're
Mm-hmm.
doing. I hope you're going to get through okay. We're here for you.
In the words of Amy Newman, sending love. Woo!
Something love. And my inbox is always open on Facebook and on Discord as well. So.
Let me play this. Let's play our friend Derek, because he touches on a lot of this stuff.
This trauma at the hands of Alcoholics Anonymous. I want to preface what I'm about to share by acknowledging that there are many good people in AA with good intentions, and that there are certain values and principles in AA that are indeed beneficial, even for non-believers. The rehabilitation facilities where AA is integrated have helped me tremendously. But it is equally important to acknowledge the harm that has been inflicted. While I do have gratitude for the help I've received over the years, an honest and critical appraisal is necessary so that others like myself may know that they are not alone.
Any comment there?
I mean, the whole time I'm listening to this, I'm thinking this is exactly what I would say about Christianity.
Yeah,
So-
I think he parallels his AA experience and Christianity almost identically.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing, that there are things that happen in my community and conversations that I I gotta yell at the mic so to start. That's a good point. Yeah. So there were conversations and ideas that if you removed some of the other parts of the web of beliefs and whatnot, were beneficial and were productive to my well-being. However, it was all couched within that frustrating, culty environment, right? So I'm grateful for that those things have happened and I'm still here today, but I wish they would have come about through a different means.
Alcoholics Anonymous invites the suffering alcoholic to conceive of a higher power, which they say can be anything the sufferer chooses. But over and over again, via the program's cherished texts, traditions, and zealous members, the sufferer is implored to pray, to confess their wrongdoings, and to make conscious contact with a personal God who is practically indistinguishable from the Judeo-Christian concept of divinity. If one expresses their doubts, they are instantly put down with thought-stopping cliches like, "Your best thinking got you here," or "Your way doesn't work." As in,
Yeah, this is something
It's
in
awful.
exploring. What's that?
That's awful. I didn't know they did
Yeah.
that.
Like anytime, like I just watched the documentary about James Janney just did a documentary about NFTs and crypto on how corrupt of a system it is. And soon as you start to speak out about this being a scam, you are faced with enjoy being poor. When you are in a Christian community and you start to speak up that, well, Mark has some issues, maybe we should explore and dig deeper, you're immediately met with some variation of you just want to sin. Or maybe
Mark just
the
wants to
hardening
sin.
of your heart, or some variation of open up your heart and or soften your heart, or some variation. And that's exactly what we see. All of these scams, in my opinion, even though they have beneficial outcomes, all of these scams have this kind of thinking that you are going to miss out. The fear of missing out, playing on your don't think, just do, trust us, we're here to help. Scams are
Right.
that way,
Trust us
Christianity's that way, Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, trust us because you can't trust yourself.
Well,
lean not on your own.
it's almost like, yeah, it's almost like these kinds of belief structures have the ever-present danger
Most religious-
that you make yourself the other, or that you make yourself the detractor, and yeah, like the fear of missing out. I'm out of step with my tribe is very much akin to that.
Yeah, out of step with my tribe.
cults, you are taught to abandon any shred of independent thought or self-reliance, to submit yourself completely to the dogmas and doctrines of the cult. Any relapses or personal failures are wielded against you like a weapon, reinforcing the notion that AA's theologically oriented 12-step program of recovery is the only path to lasting sobriety. While
Any injections there? Interjection?
I mean, that's precisely like what a lot of Christians could say, like, oh, you don't want to backslide, and you gotta, submit the flesh to the spirit so that you can always attain to true life.
AA has made feeble attempts to be more inclusive since its 1930s inception, where it began as a confessional Christian movement. It remains mired in the Pauline doctrine of human inferiority and sinfulness. Ruminating on your character defects and shortcomings is repeatedly encouraged, enshrined in the 12 steps.
So, Fenton, what kind of goes to what he was saying. Is Fenton a gal? I don't know the
No.
gender of Fenton. Okay. It's hard to tell with that icon.
It's like a home movies type. You know that show, Home Movies from Adult Swim?
Oh. No, I don't know it. I'm old.
Okay.
I watch YouTubes.
Yeah, it's very much like, it looks like a play on the character Brendan from Home Movies. That animation style. Anyway, sorry, total tangent. But yeah, no, I mean, hang on a second. I'll be back. You maybe you could let a little more play, and I'm gonna bring something. Hang on.
Themselves.
Gonna go get a bottle of
No
Jack.
human
and drink it like John Belushi, isn't he?
Power, neither yourself nor anyone else can relieve you of your hopeless condition. Only God can. Even as a non-believer, the near constant litany of self-deprecating precepts and aphorisms instilled crushing guilt, shame, and low self-esteem. Already bludgeoned into shamefulness and despair by addiction, AA exacerbates these issues by focusing exclusively on the sufferer's deficits, taking no stock whatsoever of one's inherent value or self-worth. Any hint of self-empowerment must be completely and utterly vanquished. I have said in lectures where we addicts were told that our problem was our belief in ourselves. I have listened to AA speakers ridicule non-believers, and I have been told that unless I found God, I could have no hope. Drowning in the seeming hopelessness and despair of my former condition, I have attempted suicide on multiple occasions, not least because when I was most vulnerable, Alcoholics Anonymous provided me precisely the opposite of what I needed. What I needed was to be lifted up, to be reminded of my self-worth, to be told that I could do it, even if at times I slipped up and fell again. Instead, I too often received put-downs, belittlement, and subjection to a principal core of theological ideas that do not resonate with me in the slightest. My suffering from addiction was manifestly increased by the religious dogmas and doctrines of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, that was pretty, I'm gonna freeze frame on that. And the screen says, just in case anybody can't see it on a smaller phone or screen device, if you think you are an atheist, an agnostic, a skeptic, or have any other form of intellectual pride which keeps you from accepting what is in this book, I feel sorry for you, quote.
I'm trying to find, so I've got my old prayer journals here. Because like I said, I'm a spiritual masochist here. But I've got, this is just like paragraphs upon paragraphs of engaging myself in this exact behavior of self-reprobation and proclamation that I deserve nothing, that the only good thing in my life is God, is Jesus. I have nothing, literally nothing. No work I could do, no character attributes. All of it was poop. Let me see if I can find here we go. I doubt your goodness and timing often. I sin against your will for my life often, and can see how you will honor the role you have for me. Lord, I behold how you shape every road, every conversation, every heart, everything to bring me here. I confess I mistrust, grow in cynicism of your power, Lord. You who turn to who you say I and your church are in your word. I pray for the power of your spirit and the desire of your son's name to boldly charge forward.
What's that from?
Jesus. My own prayer journal.
Oh, I see. Well, shit,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
need to start cult, man. You're ready.
Man, I have like a decade worth of these in my basement that I can just readily look at my own. Huh?
How'd you escape from being that deep into it?
I have no clue. Actually, no, I do know. It's a little bit of, so that was the college ministry nitty that was like gun ho to try and become like a youth pastor type, lay congregant leader of some kind, right? Maybe even like a career evangelist, and work for the church. in some capacity. And then when that goal didn't seem to be actualizing for me, I gave it up. I was like, I gave up that goal. And then I was like, well, maybe I could end up at least being like an adult home group, home church leader. So that's, what I'll pursue. But then, like, I got a little bit more into my career, not much, but then like started a family. And I think that gate started giving me the space and the relational distance from people to say like, well, like what's really going on here with me? Like, let's slow down and address these questions on my own. Let's listen to the other side of the debate, because I'm not being constantly inundated with 6 days a week of involvement in Christian stuff, 6+ days, really. They wanted you to do something every day, right? Like a daily Bible reading. If you weren't doing daily Bible reading as like a leader, like you get like a regular talking to or something. So like, yeah. So when I went from that down to just daily Bible reading and like 2-3 things a week is when I started to get that distance from the constant, exercise of it all. And then I had like the freedom and the distance to explore what other people thought and how they were interacting with scriptures, and being able to also not see myself, or being able to dissociate myself from people like the Kat Kerrs, the Steven Andersons and stuff like that, and be like, wait a minute, like they really do believe that this says this. What the hell's going on? Like, maybe there is something fundamentally wrong here. Maybe I need to be asking more questions. Maybe there's something to what these atheists are saying. If I can't arrive at their conclusion, but we both believe we have the Spirit, like what the hell, man? And then January 6th happened, and I'm like, I get it now. That was like the watershed moment.
You
of
deconverted that
2021.
recently?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so 2021, when January 6th happened, I'm like, I get it. I understand how Christianity took root in a credulous environment, and how a lot of people believed it really quickly and got wrapped up in it. And how I correlate this to January 6th is there's 50% of 300 million people believe that the election's not stolen, that they won't do jack shit for Donald Trump. And the other 50% of these motherfuckers are like, let's die for him. Let's go to the Capitol. Let's overturn the tables. Let's reboot America, right? Like, I'm like, they believe in an entire narrative in such a short time period with all these other ancillary beliefs. Like, well, I believe it's stolen because of this report over here and what's Q-a-fart said over there about the Brazilian or Venezuelan voting machines and all this other stuff that I'm like, y'all are just making up. This is a cult, guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was not a Republican friendly Christian. I think that helped a lot, where I'm like, there's a lot of bullshit happening here. There's a lot of grifting, like the fucking Dennis Pragers and the Alex Jones and stuff like that. Like, like I'm like, all these guys suck. Then they're operating on, half truths, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like dubious sources of evidence and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I can't. They're adopting a narrative in such a short time period that to me it just screamed a cult. Like, and the evidence they were using for it would be better than what I have for the Gospels, right? We have video evidence, testimonial evidence of election officials, yada yada yada, and we have less evidence for we have more evidence that it wasn't stolen than it was stolen, right? The election is what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
all of that evidence on both sides is mountains higher than what you have for the authenticity of the Gospels. And I realized it. I'm like, I've got a big problem,
Wow. Yeah.
let alone the Pentateuch or anything like that. Like the traditional authors, the evangelical authorship of that shit.
Right.
I got a huge
Right.
problem because my evidence for that is even less, right? And so when I figured out that was the real connection for me, like that summerish, but I went on a path where I was like, what's going on here? Why are people believing things so quickly and being deceived so quickly? Maybe I'll just look into the Exodus again. I distracted myself with this whole dive into the Old Testament and was like, oh wow, this is pretty fucky. Like, well, okay, maybe it's better for Jesus. And then I made the connection between I didn't like January 6th because people were believing a false narrative too quickly on really terrible evidence, and here I am over here with a lower standard for my eternal destiny, right? Like, I'm believing a narrative 30, 40 years removed, and I won't believe a narrative 2 months removed from its events. Oh
Right.
geez. Oh geez.
Yeah. Right.
So there you go. Yeah, that's some nitty history for you. If you
Oh,
weren't
that's awesome.
aware.
I'm impressed that you were that deep in it, but then managed to like work through that so easily. Like, hey, wait a minute. Like,
Well, the I guess like what's like the cursed monkey paw of my former church is their intellectualism, like the value that they have on like, let's go to scholars, let's check our sources, let's be debate friendly. it
mhm.
it it cuts the other way, right? Like eventually, right? Like you can't, for people who actually like to think and not just be pulled along, that there's a chance that they'll be like, now wait a minute.
Yeah.
I like the debate. I like the argument. What are they saying over there, right?
Hmm.
So you, you're gonna get people who end up like me, right? Who keep trying to pursue things and keep studying it and keep trying to understand it, and because you crazy monkeys thought it was so damn important to know the Greek, to go back to the earliest manuscript, blah blah blah. Like,
Yeah.
you're creating within me a culture that wants to be uh seeking out the answers, trying to find the damn truth,
Wow.
and being credulous to the people who deny evidence, right? Because that's what we
Mhm.
founded Christianity on. We took a very polemic approach to interpreting something like First Corinthians 15, which is like Paul's like supposed uh, apostle apostolic creed plus like the cornerstone piece of theology for the resurrection, right? And where he basically is like, if Christ didn't rise, you're still in your sins and you should go start fucking and drinking. Like, get out of here. Quit hanging around with me. Do what you
Wow.
actually want to do, right? And so we would say that, not in those exact words, but I remember men's group teachings or like cell group teachings where we would be like, or home group teachings where we would be like, you know what, just like Paul says here, if this isn't true, we should all just go home and screw off. Like, so we're here because it's true, the evidence says it is.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Ah.
So polemical. It was just, and
It is.
so black and white, and yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's what you get though. Like, you get me interacting with things like William Lane Craig's mytho-history and being like, wait, what the fuck? I cherished you, dude. Like, what's going on with that? And then listening to what the atheists have to say about that. And then here we are. Sucked into the algorithm.
Right. So, William Lane Craig this year, got in trouble with his grifters by admitting that he had to lower his epistemological bar basically to the ground.
Yeah.
Because there's at least one
Right.
chance in a million that it could be true.
Because we have pragmatic epistemology over here. Like there's a difference. That pissed me off so much. But anyway, how did we get there? What? You were asking that because of the self-deprecation in the prayer journals, how I got so far out of that. And that's how. There's my anti-testimony.
Yeah.
In a much more concise way. But yeah, Melody, Trumpianity. I hope for younger people or for people in our community that listen to this, I want more people to keep, and Holy Kool-Aid actually used that exact analogy, and I think Vice Rhino has at some point too, in a couple of his videos, where it's like, here's a great example of lots of people convinced of lots of two different people groups convinced of mutually exclusive claims in an incredibly short time span, with presumably the same or greater access to the firsthand accounts and evidence, and arriving at the complete mutually exclusive conclusions. Now what? You know what I mean? Like, and if the bar is that high for something this recent, why is it so goddamn low for something so important like your eternal destiny?
Right.
Or low, we'll just say lower.
Right.
This is bigly important.
Bigly important. So yeah, there's just so much wrong with it. And my friend, go ahead.
I was going to suggest we start to wrap it up, since we've been on for an hour and 30 only an hour and 10 minutes longer than we wanted to be on.
Oh, I got more shit I want to rant about. So
You're free to go, Tux, and you got stuff to do.
Yeah. You go tuck in Mrs. Tux.
Well, we can just keep the stream going. I mean,
yeah.
No big deal. Maybe I'll come back in a bit.
Yeah, I got to slice some bread, if y'all know what I'm saying.
Oh boy.
We should end every sentence with if you know what I mean. We should just do that one night and see how the conversation goes.
Oh boy.
If you know what I mean.
I gotta take my empty beer cans up to the recycle bin. If you know what I mean.
He's tuxered out.
Tuxered out. Nice. No, I'm probably going to. I might be back in about like 15 minutes. So if you're still on, I'll rejoin.
No guarantees, but he might be.
Yeah, might be.
Tux moves in mysterious ways.
Yeah. This.
Yeah.
Jack, he's so funny. Jack's so funny. He is a comedian.
That's great.
So, well, I'll let you get on with getting on, and I'll probably be back in about 15-ish minutes.
All right. Do what you gotta do. So, where do I start with this one? Truth to be told, I don't really want to go back and relive the stream anymore from earlier today. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Any more than I did on Jay's channel earlier today. When I could listen in, because I was ending my work day, and look, I'm gonna change the background back to anyway. Where was I going with this? Oh, right, because some of it was just so it hasn't gotten me Kenny mad yet. That's like a unique form of anger that is reserved for getting mad at someone who just doesn't want to understand or engage with me honestly. But I swear that it was I think what frustrates me the most about that stream from earlier today is that it was talking out of both sides of the mouth or something. What do I mean by that? What I mean is she wanted to present herself as loving, accepting, tolerant, um, helpful,
Who?
constructive Rebecca
Okay.
um, to the LGBTQ community,
Mhm.
while at the same time bringing people onto the panel like a Jamie, or I don't know if any other believers eventually came on, but or saying things like, well, God's law to kill people for homosexual acts, that was good for a time. Or
He met
that
the quota.
or like you know uh Paul's seeming condemnation for the uh relations. Let's be as charitable and Michael Heiser bullshit about the New Testament as we can get and say, yes, those verses aren't really talking about civilly unioned men and women having constant coitus or anything like that. No, it's more about some reprobate, really really dirty homo stuff that even those kinds of unions wouldn't do. Okay,
They went in dry. We can't have that.
something. I don't know, but
No.
anyway, like that that is not how most of the church throughout most of Christian history has even attempted to interpret those verses. And
Right.
so
Humanity needed
basically,
Rebecca. We needed Rebecca to eventually come set it right.
yeah. Or you know what? She knows the mind of God. This is just not a big deal anymore. Okay?
Yeah.
Or to make the assertion, and I I about lost it when she said, this is not something that the church is really talking about. Where the fuck are you? Are you in like a Faraday cage that where the words gay and queer come out of a Christian's mouth, but your Faraday cage like works so good that those words don't come in? Like they never said those. They don't care about that. No, it's like la 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 la. There's not a
Yeah.
giant billboard on your highway in your state that says marriage is one man, one woman. And who funded that board? I don't know. It could have been a church, maybe. Yeah,
Hmm.
like, do her eyes and ears not function?
Right. Does she not
I
know that there's ongoing legal battles for whether or not gay people should be allowed to get married or even exist?
I or that there's like and here's the other thing, and I think she tipped a hand a bit, and it got noticed on JStream, and I was happy about that when he was talking about the denominationalism, the word he made up, whatever. But like, where she confesses that she's had a sampling of churches, and I made the comment that samplings of churches are incomplete experiences of what they truly believe or will practice or will do in these kinds of situations, which entail the kind of thing that she does not want to do or is saying now that she doesn't want to do with
Mm.
people in that community,
Yeah, when
right?
you
That,
first walk into a church, you get love bombed. You don't get the fine print.
yeah,
Duh.
exactly. Yeah. Or like these non-denominational types of groups that I was a part of, where it's abundantly clear once you're involved for any extended period of time that trying to be in that Christian community, but also have your feet, your balls, or your boobies in the LGBTQ plus community is a no deal. You must choose who you will serve this day. Serve your lusts and passions of the flesh, or serve God and Jesus Christ our Lord, and follow him wholeheartedly with your celibacy and your suppression of your desires. Right now.
Right. Right.
Repent or perish. or not get the sanctified super duper reward package in
And her
heaven
whole thing,
because
even if you're married, you can't have any lust. Like, tell us you're bad at sex without telling us you're bad at sex. Come on.
what parts of get on my body and grab my pomegranates is not lust, okay, from Song of Solomon. I'm sorry, but there is most definitely an acceptance at the minimum of godly lust, we could say, or godly enrapturement of your spouse. And in fact, there are Christian books, um, like oh fuck, what is it called? There's like a Christian woman's book on sex that's like you gotta get get you gotta get it tropical rainforest down there. You gotta get ready to get with your man.
Oh
But
my
anyway, so
I didn't know that. I want to order
yeah,
that right
yeah,
now on Amazon. Go ahead.
yeah. I'll try and see if oh wait, I might still have it on my bookshelf.
Oh, I hope so.
I gotta think about where it would be. But I want to finish making this point, and I'll let you talk for a little bit. But it's like that. What I'm trying to say is continual involvement in most evangelical churches, small groups, old ladies eating at Panera bread with all their little stacks of grifter commentaries, like the what's her nuts, that Joyce Myers type shit that they drag along with them in their pull suitcases to Panera bread, and they set it all out. They're going to talk about the queers in that study of Leviticus, I bet you, or that study of Deuteronomy where you got to stone them to death. Like it happens. I don't know what kind of church you dipping, you're dabbling into, but spend more time there and get in with them old crony bitches, and you're gonna be hating on the queers before you know it.
She doesn't not know. Even people in her own circle are anti.
I'm sorry. I have to make this really clear. I need to stop for a second. I'm using that language very loosely and very credulously and disrespectfully towards LGBTQ people. I do not feel that way at all. If you're just joining this, my own father is identifies as a woman, is trans. That doesn't excuse me just saying the queers or anything like that. So I'm going to try and be more sensitive.
But you're not speaking from your perspective.
You're right. You're right. I'm speaking as a bigot. You're welcome.
You're talking about the things that they say. You're
I'm a Jeff Dunham puppet right now.
Yeah.
Who knows what the fuck's gonna come out? All right, I'm gonna go find that book. You keep talking.
All right, so that's where we're at. So the people we don't know everybody that's in Rebecca's life, but we do know some of the people in her life and her inner circle that she networks with about her religious fundamentalism. And we know that being anti-LGBT is the standard in the community she runs in, right? The standard. So she gets some random people on her stream that are fellow Christians. They're going to be anti-LGBT. Almost all of them, and she knows this, right? So for her to say that she has no idea that in her own circle and in a large number of American churches and throughout the world, that conservative religious fundamentalism, Catholicism and Protestants alike, that there's but practically no anti-LGBT stuff. Like she doesn't even know where atheists are getting this idea from. Like Christians aren't anti-LGBT or anti-gay. Where'd you get this idea from? Right? She knows that that's bullshit. She knows that there are ongoing wars being fought in the political arena about gay rights and trans rights and rights to marry and rights to adopt and other rights and all kinds of rhetoric coming from her side of the culture war where people are just talking about the gay agenda and how it's wrong to live gay and all this other stuff, right? When she hosts a stream about that, she makes a stream about LGBT. Even in the intro of her video, she has the person, they have their finger up to their mouth, shh, right, making the shush symbol, right? The thing that most churches don't want to talk about but should be, right? She knows the reason they don't want to talk about it is because it's not currently trending to be hateful, right? And so they don't want to talk about it. Because if they were all completely fine with LGBT, there wouldn't be an issue and nobody would be saying shush and there would be no aversion to talking about it. So she even admitted in the thumbnail of her video that it is a common problem in Christianity. Then she turns around and says, "Oh, well, it's not a problem. Nobody's talking about how they don't like the gay stuff." Yeah, they are. That's why she made the stream, because yeah, they are.
Yeah, so that, and now if there ever was a more appropriate time to use the term, say it with me now.
Gaslighting.
Lighting. There you
Word
go.
of the year,
Yes,
2022. Gaslighting.
because that's exactly what that is, right? They're not talking about it, but really they are. They very, 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 very fucking much are.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I
Right.
found the books, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
Uh,
Story time with Liddy. Let's have it.
Yeah. Here's Real Sex.
Real sex.
The naked truth about
The naked truth.
chastity.
Chastity. I think I dated her.
Yeah. All right. And then there's Intended for Pleasure.
Intended for pleasure.
Sex Technique and Sexual Fulfillment in Christian Marriage.
Oh my god. Is that like
Wait.
Okay, go ahead.
Wait. The authors are Ed Wheat, an MD, and Gay Wheat, his wife.
Oh my
Her
gosh.
her name is Gay.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wait,
Oh
there
my-
are pictures. So this is actually an anatomical education for Christians. That's a clitoris and vagina. Can I show
Oh.
it when it's black and white? Oops.
Yeah, you can totally show it. You can totally show it. I've been wondering what those parts were. I just close my eyes, aim for a hole, and hope for the best. I have no idea what's going on down there.
So there is a pictorial guide, and this is written by Christians. So let's see what the Christians have to say about. Should I read an excerpt, James?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Oh gosh. This is.
This is gonna be great.
Should should I use a character voice or my real voice?
Whatever one you're more comfortable with.
The important things to remember are: the clitoris must be stimulated either directly or indirectly for the wife to achieve orgasm. The basic physiologic response of orgasm is the same, no matter what method of stimulation. Women often report a subjective difference in feelings produced by the clitoral orgasm and feelings produced by the orgasm achieved during vaginal stimulation.
Oh my gosh. Uh,
Wow. I mean, this thing goes in depth in this paragraph about the shaft of the clitoris. I mean, I can't make it up. It's Doctor Strange Tangelo. doing a talk about orgasms.
Wow. And now we know how the gay wheat gets shredded.
If you know what I mean.
If you know what I mean. Oh,
My goodness. Wow, hold on. Let's just read the chapter titles. Now I'm curious because that was something I was not expecting when I picked up this book.
it's probably like an IKEA book. Like insert tab A into slot B.
I mean, kind of. Intended for Pleasure is chapter 1. Finding God's Design. I mean, is that like finding Jesus too? I don't know.
Oh my God.
Choosing to Love. Understanding the Basics. There's basics? Okay. One Flesh, the techniques of lovemaking. Solutions to common problems. For the pre-orgasmic wife. Fulfillment ahead. For the
Are we there
impotent
yet?
wait. The next chapter is for the impotent husband. Fulfillment again. The Power of Sexual Intimacy. The Perfect Wife by Gay Wheat. Planning and Achieving Parenthood. Sex During Pregnancy. Sex After 60, 70, 80.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean,
Sexually transmitted diseases. Answers to your questions. All love, all liking, all delight. Your marriage, a private little kingdom, if you know what I mean.
if you know what I mean. I mean, don't knock it. Some of those 80-year-old
Wow.
some of those 80-year-old women, man. I mean, their teeth come out. I'm just saying.
I mean, when you're 82, your skin's loose. Are you just loose all over? Like,
I mean,
or
that
you or you
works.
stiffer and colder? I don't know.
I don't know. I think they get.
At any
colder.
rate,
Yeah.
so yeah, the church guys, this is all hetero literature. The church isn't talking about LGBTQ. Don't you know? Like the Christian book section has this in it, especially on Amazon.
Right. According to the book.
Fucking hell. God damn it. I got into it with Roddy Chrome in the chat a little bit about David and Jonathan during that stream, and I was really happy about that because it sent me on a magical quest during my workday
Yeah.
to learn more about how modern scholars are thinking about the relationship between David and Jonathan. I
They were
always
so gay.
thought as a Christian it was a little gay. Like
Yeah.
like we in men's group would be reading like the story of David and Jonathan, and then we would like I remember learning about halfway through being a Christian that some people think that ancient covenant binding was when men stood up to each other, and mind you, now they don't have slacks or pants on. They don't have pants on. They're wearing just like, you know, long ass t-shirt, and they're like, I make a covenant with y'all.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, I'm letting you close to my most intimate self and parts. How does God seal his covenant with Israel? That's so it's mirrored when men make covenant bonds, supposedly, in this culture. They're grabbing below the belt. Why do you think it's so important to know why is it so important to Paul to say like, oh, y'all know I only circumcised Timothy? Well, it's public information how much dick skin the guy's got.
Mm-hmm.
So how else would you come about that information in your community? No, seriously. I don't see very many Christians walking up to each other and saying, is Bob circumcised? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess he is. Huh. Cool. Hey, everyone. If you make a covenant with Bob, just so you know, you're going to see a little more than everybody else here.
Nice.
right?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Lord Sobek, yeah, pants you had like loins to gird, right? Like undergarmentness, but again, the covenant would be getting sealed by grabbing that inner part of the thigh, which is basically saying, please don't cut this off, right? Like I'm letting you this close to my most intimate self, and the most important for my procreation, my family survival, all of it, right? We're now bonded, right? So now when you go back and read about David and Jonathan, which by the way, if you adhere to the chronology of the lives of Saul when he was supposedly born and who he married and how he had his children, and you try to do the math within the text to figure out how old Jonathan is. How old do you think Jonathan is when he meets David? Just give me a number.
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't even guess. I've never thought about it. I bet they weren't that
He's,
old.
he's 32.
Mm.
Guess how old David is?
Oh, geez, I'm afraid to ask. 13.
19.
All right.
So
19.
here's the thing. The text is doing this thing where 3 times it talks about how beautiful David is. And then 3 times Jonathan does a like work of adoration before David. And guess what? He is basically stripping himself down before David when they make their covenant together. He takes off his armor, which there's not going to be much left on his person after he takes off his armor. A 32-year-old man is taking off his armor before a 19-year-old gent who is beautiful. And then he gives him his sword and his bow, and he gives him something else too. But it happens in like a course of 3. It parallels the adoration for David's appearance is happening in Jonathan's actions towards him.
Mm-hmm.
And the words used to describe their affections for one another are only ever used in Song of Solomon or in other contexts of marital relations within the Bible. So the depth of their emotional connection is already like leaning towards homoerotic. And then here's the ultimate kicker for me. You got presumably handsome man of power, adoring, beautiful, sprightly, strong man David. But then what Saul says to Jonathan. Saul picks up on his Jonathan and David's relationship, and he basically is like, you're a disgrace to your mother for how much you love David. Notice too in the text there's never a indication that Jonathan had any other marital relationship or kids. Now, is that an argument from silence? Yeah, kind of. But why else would this king with his firstborn son fly off the fucking handle when he is thinking about the relationship between David and his son and saying something like, you're a complete disgrace to your mother, you should have never come out of her genitals, and he tries to kill his own son after that. I mean, that's losing your shit over something, and it ain't over his drinking buddy, okay? Like right? Like
Right.
Dad is very unhappy with Jonathan for his relationship to David.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's something going on there.
Wow.
So that's why I like that's the only part of Rebecca's stream I liked was the side chat, and then the magical journey I went to go look into the David and Jonathan relationship while they were talking and making me more angry. I'm like, oh, at least this stuff is fun.
Who was making more angry?
The whole Bread of Life stream,
Yeah.
like the gaslighty, projection, like, oh, this isn't that bad. And even if God did say that LGBTQ people shouldn't be together or whatever, he just doesn't care about it anymore, which is like the exact opposite of what most, like you said, churches around the world, especially in the US, are saying. It's no, like, you need to stand with God and his word and his design and his uh yeah um duh. Anyway, you stand with God and his word and you don't waver. God always cares. His morals transcend time and culture because he's God, right? That
Right.
they'd say God always cares about what you do with your genitals and who you marry. It doesn't falter, it doesn't change.
Right. Well, it
And
doesn't
so
make
I
any
was just
sense
like
'cause they,
shaking my computer almost, like, come on.
right. Like how stupid could they possibly think we are? Right. Like, come
Right.
on, we're not that dumb.
Yeah, we're all paying attention here. The lights are on in our hotel. What about you?
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I don't like people
Yeah.
trying to gaslight me and manipulate me, but it's not working. I mean, look at how people are talking about it, and even in chat while the stream was happening, people are like,
Oh yeah.
"Yeah, she's she's dumb for thinking we're dumb." That's all I can say about it.
Yeah. So I found this extensive paper where I found a lot of this information and ways of thinking about it and talking about it. And it depends on which slice of the ancient Near East you're looking at, because there's some like lithographs or like stone carvings and things like that of homoerotic things. I think it's like the Hittites have that, or like a Sumas tablet or something like that,
Yeah,
which would be like Babylonish Assyrian Empire region, but it's a very specific part of that region. It's not like it's not ubiquitous throughout the ancient Near East at all. Or you get something like the Theban soldiers of Greece who would engage in heterosexual partnerships and procreation, but also have a like not a ward, but like a cherished member of the same sex in their military rankings. In Egypt, some same-sex relations were generally fine, except for men taking submissive uh, uh, pleasure, we'll say.
yeah.
Um, and then the Philistines, I think, were okay with it, if I'm remembering what I read today correctly. But I'd have to go back and find it and give you the handsome young page. Maybe those new conscripts are looking pretty fine, just like Jonathan saw.
Like,
But
you
anyway,
got
yeah,
a real.
when I learn their ages with respect to the ages given in the biblical narrative, I'm like, all right, this has got to be. There's no getting around it anymore. That to me
Wow.
just cemented it. I was like, damn, like that.
Yeah.
Because I think in like almost any other context, right? If we
Mhm.
saw that age disparity and level of devotion and emotion happening between, especially with lower life expectancies and things like that, happening between people of the same sex, we'd probably be like, yeah, there's something going on here.
Right. Oh my gosh. I mean,
So
in the meantime, I mean, Dr. Jennifer Bird made a good case for Jesus was gay. Like Jesus himself was gay, and he was in a gay relationship with Peter, and probably some of the others. And that was a great Myth Vision episode. We had a stream about it. It was pretty fun.
Oh yeah. Did you see my super chat from that stream?
No.
Oh,
what did
remind
you
me.
say?
Let's see. Let me find it.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I thought about the more I think about that stream, the more I kind of am coming to the conclusion that I shouldn't do like a big old response to it, because I think I'll just get too. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? You know your own limits, right? You know your character and psyche, and you say, no, that's where I'm going to draw the line. That's where I'm going to be done talking about this. I'm going to put that away for now, and then maybe I'll revisit it when I'm in a different place, or not. And maybe this is the extent of what I'll even say about it, because aside from that, I honestly just think like it's grossly misleading. The whole idea of that stream was incredibly misleading. And then later on, when the believers take her to task in the chat and in the panel, she's just operating on full cognitive dissonance mode and engaging in what would be tantamount to a slippery slope, inversely slippery slope type of argument, where it's like, well, if God doesn't seem to care about something he said in the before times, why do we keep trying to extrapolate moral values at all from the text if he might not care about that one next, right? Because who knows?
So,
Like, if we can't trust what God said in the past about same-sex relations, why trust it about heterosexual relations? One man, one woman. Well, maybe God doesn't care about that so much anymore, right? Why trust him on substance use, right? And it doesn't say much about it except pharmakoites or pharmakinia or whatever in Ephesians 5, which was mistranslated as witchcraft. Like, maybe he doesn't care about that anymore because we have antidepressants and we have all these other things. So just a slight pharmacological variation, right? Maybe he doesn't care about that. Maybe he doesn't care about procreating, right? Like, maybe we should all be antinatalists and be okay with that.
Well, I am an anti-natalist. I'm okay with that. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense that she's even making this argument unless she's trying to say, yeah, maybe we should go back to thinking gay is bad. Like,
all right.
What's
I have
her
a little treat for you for the my super chat for the Jennifer Bird Myth Vision.
Awesome.
If I were a first century gay Jewish fella, I'd refer to my as meet the Son of God. Oh my gosh. We got jokes. We got jokes, Tux.
I remember now, yeah.
Wow.
That's fun.
Yeah. I mean, that might work in the house, like, I don't know. Role play? Come on, meet the Son of God, baby. I don't know. Wow.
How to get baptized.
Thank you for the super chat talks, and thank you for the laugh. Really appreciate
that. You know what I mean?
Topics TV.
If you know what I mean.
I'm coming on the clouds, if you know what I mean.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how I got pregnant. I just fell asleep sunbathing nude. I woke up pregnant. I don't know. I think Jesus came on the clouds again. Oh my gosh.
And by clouds, you know what I mean. I had Black Schwartz beer for dinner, so
nice. Wow. Now I'm trying to think of other terrible like not terrible, but like other like incidental comedies or word associations we could do with the Old Testament.
Mm. Hillary's emails. Yes, Black Schwartz is redundant, but the beer that I'm drinking is called Schwarzbach. So yes.
So anyway, I wanted to rant about that a little bit, Tux. I don't know if you caught much of it. We were.
I did not have an earbud in while.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
While I was away.
Yeah.
Figured.
So basically, just talking about the Rebecca stream, my take on it, and then you missed it, man. I got a book off my shelf, and I'll share it with you, Tux, and you'll have to go back earlier in the stream to get the excerpt that we read and the very demonetizable image that was shown from intended for pleasure.
Oh my.
Sex technique and sexual fulfillment in Christian marriage.
Oh my.
It has anatomically correct diagrams for the assistance of the marital relations.
So my channel's no longer PG-13.
Was it supposed to be? It was black and white. I mean...
Hey, I did put an ellipsis in for... I'd probably refer to my ellipsis.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
You know what I mean.
Nah, we went deep and used the word...
oh, boy.
Clitoris.
Oh, my.
And stimulation and orgasm.
BS, do you want to join? Do we want BS to join?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll email an invite guest to our buddy.
Oh man. Yeah, good old covenant relations.
Yeah.
Tux, you know about the how they did covenants back then, right? That they would grab like the inner thigh. Or have you ever heard like a scholar or anyone say that?
No.
That's how I do my covenants.
But there was some Christian sects, if I'm not mistaken, that they were referred to as incestuous because they were calling each other brothers and sisters.
Well, yeah.
And they were kind of getting around. They were doing the Ray Charles mess around.
Well, the other thing is, like, I learned that there were some groups that performed nude baptisms, and that it actually took the budding Catholic Church to be like, let's stop doing those. But it was like a regular practice among different, like, more rural Christian groups is to perform the baptisms nude. I mean, what a better way though than to say like all the old self is shed off, and then I emerge from the water new, right?
Sure.
Yeah, well, it is called being born again, is it not?
Yeah. You go in the water the same way you come out of the birth waters. And that's why there's like a random tangent with that too, where it's like being born of water in First John. It's like scholars are like, what the hell is that doing there? And it's like, oh, they're talking about the pre-birthal fluids coming out. It's like, what?
Nice. Sexy talk. So BS, check your email. The one that's listed on the
we're not doing
on our team
fully loaded crazy panel, but we're sometimes we're a little exclusive here in the Nittyverse. You gotta earn that link.
Or have Tuck sneak you in when he's not around, like he did for me. Sneak me into the back door, right through the back door, if you know what I mean.
You know what I
You
mean?
know what I mean? That's a mighty big mug I've got here. Look at that.
God.
Look at the size of that mug. I mean, this is the one I'm normally drinking out of. Look at that. It's a big mug, if you know what I mean.
Your avatar can only be the Bertuzzi Pope. You switch it back.
That one is good.
No, I picked something in honor of a bread stream.
Oh wait, I gotta look more closely. Tux, put him up there.
Okay.
It's BS eating banana pudding.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
Wow.
He's a messy boy.
He's a messy boy.
It's a good thing you described it as banana pudding, if you know what I mean.
Nice.
Are we still on the bread talk, or did you guys move on?
Sure. No, go for it. What do you want to say about it?
Brett Keane is in the house as well.
Hey, welcome, Brett.
Hey,
I watched some of your
the thing
talk
is
with
you've been getting a lot of airtime the last 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah.
Bad publicity is good publicity, I think. If you know
we
what
can
I mean.
arrange some of that too. Sure, why not?
I don't know exactly what you did. I haven't deciphered all of it, but it's amazing. Somewhere around last Friday or Saturday, I'd never heard of you, and then starting Sunday, I started to hear of you. Maybe Monday.
Brett
Yeah,
Kane's
same.
old school YouTube, man. He's been around
Yeah,
the block.
He's been around. He's got a bunch of podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely all good. Definitely. The other day, I said on James' stream for you to get called good names or something like that. Go. Almost old before Google.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Titan Uranus is. I just want to say hi to Titan. Something did not set well with Titan the other day on my stream, and I'm not sure what it was. If it's something I said, I apologize, and we should discuss it. Let me know if you want my email. If it's something somebody else said that you feel like doesn't belong on my channel, let me know, and I can give that some thought too. Because I don't run a very tight ship on my channel, and times maybe I should. So, shout at me if you want to talk about it.
So anyway, BS. What did you want to what do you want to slice about the bread? If you know what I mean.
There's so much. I don't know what you covered. I went to go take a little break, came back. But
Oh, you're good.
I kept bringing up in her chat, I was like, Song of Solomon, and she kept bringing up lust and stuff. And were they married? No, they weren't. And there's like parts of it where it's like, oh, I wish you were my brother, so we should do it on the down low and stuff like that.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
And it makes me laugh so much because it's supposed to, like, in the Christian worldview, it's a model of Jesus and his church. It's like,
hey, BS.
Yeah.
For some reason, Chrome is basically the only restream worthy. If you're not on Chrome, it just doesn't work well. Your audio is shoddy right now.
Okay.
Are you in Chrome by chance?
I should be. That's the only one I
you
use.
are?
I'm on
Okay.
mobile though, so I guess this might answer our question.
That might be it. Yeah, that might be it.
Yeah.
Is it really, really bad? Like unbearable bad?
It's not right now, but if you talk more than 10 seconds, it starts to get choppy.
I get the point, Tux. I get the
If you know what I mean.
Just one-liners only for the rest of the night.
That's funny. It almost seems like. Are you on an earbud?
Headset.
Yeah,
Not
on a
earbud.
headset.
A regular one.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know.
Like what is it, like crackly or what's
Yeah,
going
it's
on?
crackly.
Oh.
Yeah, it sounds crackly.
Are you using the mobile devices mic or the headset mic?
The headset mic.
Switch to the other.
Got like a gamer headset, so it's a pretty good headset for like if you're doing Twitch and stuff, if you're doing that kind of stuff. But I don't like talk into my iPad or what.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. All right.
Yeah, BS Lewis's audio is bad.
Sure.
It is. It's not just me. The stream hears it too.
Try again.
I'm like talking into my tablet. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
That's better. Yeah.
I think that's better. At least so far.
Like I'm carrying a giant phone.
Nope.
Oh, no, it's still
Still
crackly.
bad?
Yeah, it's still bad.
I bet you it's that Restream uses a lot of CPU, and it's real hard on your tablet
Oh.
because that. I wonder if there's a way for him to. Can you in here? I'm trying to think if it would be beneficial. Not that. Hang on. If I just turned off if we all turned off our cameras, maybe.
I could do that.
Yeah. So there, BS. This should use less video for you now.
Check 1, check 2.
Much better.
I think so.
Really?
Really?
Let me talk for more than 10 seconds.
No, never mind.
No, it's fine.
As soon as you start talking longer than 10 seconds, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's like me with my girlfriends when I used to have them. I'd be like, "You can talk all you want, honey." She goes, "Really?" Like 5 seconds later, I'm like, "No, I take it back. Just it's not working. You're not gonna."
Yeah. So thoughts on the lust concept when you consider that Song of Solomon exists in the Bible and is used as a relationship guide to the between Jesus and the church.
I didn't get that BS.
It's that bad.
Yeah.
All right. I'll try another time, guys. I'm sorry.
All right. See.
Sorry, I'm
BS.
technologically impaired.
Yeah.
Bye.
You're good, man. You're good. So yeah, well, I guess I'll talk a little bit about it. I'm gonna turn my camera back on because I like being on camera. So like the concept of lust, I guess like I would have had a category for like righteous eros love, where yeah. So we I was in this kind of church that liked again like studying the Greek, and there's like all these different kinds of love. There's the agape love, there's the phileo love, there's adelphi love, and then there's eros love, which is usually the bad naughty love, the burning in your bosom and your pants. Don't want that eros love in here. But maybe there could be a category for righteous eros, intense longing or desire to be with your spousal relations, where you have a proper avenue because it's God's design for you to be with your partner, right? Your married partner. So naturally, you should get excited about that, right? And enjoy that person that God has blessed you with. So I guess like that's how I would have framed like it's not lust. It's just I'm really hot for you right now.
Right.
So yeah, I guess like what's the funny phrase for that? It's a distinction without a difference, right? Like we're just playing word games at that point to describe the same phenomenon, but one category of this phenomenon, well, we don't like it when it is happening in this context, but when that same phenomenon happens over here in this other context, then oh yeah, that's the good kind. Yay!
God only likes it when your paperwork is in order.
You
If you know what I mean.
to do your paperwork. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Gotta have that court stamp, that court seal. And now it's okay with the Lord.
We almost made it the whole stream without talking about dicks again.
Almost. It's a good thing we didn't forget to talk about dicks, because every time we forget, man.
So, like, you know, maybe this is going to become like a thing. Nitty streams talk about titties, dicks, and then the people would be like, these atheists, they're obsessed.
You know, that's what I could talk more about, because I've been thinking, you know, what does everybody like? I'm like, boobies. Everybody likes boobies. I could talk more about that on my channel. I don't know about dicks. I think there's a split.
Well, here's the thing. Well, I wouldn't talk about dicks so much if God didn't first.
Right. Right.
He who is without concern, throw the first foreskin.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I mean,
back as a currency, foreskins as a currency. Like I kind of feel like
only if it's your first marriage.
You can buy a wife with that. How many foreskins for a decent wife? Like I don't even know.
I guess it's 200. It runs in the ballpark.
The ballpark. The ballpark. If you know what I mean. Even back then, I couldn't afford a good wife, man. Because where was I going to get 200 foreskins? Seriously.
Okay. If that narrative has any historicity to it, those were not donated. Okay, and just try to imagine that procedure being sanitary or without casualty. Like, hey, you guys that I've just beaten the crap out of, line up, and then I just need a little bit of that skin to pay for my wife. You cool? No. All of those guys are very, very, very dead, and those were the trophies.
Ugh. They didn't even have antibiotics back then, and you know they were reusing the same sharp stone for every guy. Like,
oh yeah,
infection,
or sword,
and then you die.
Yeah.
Hell,
if they, but I think that they were all killed, and so it's just a mass murder, and then ta-da. Because then at that point there's no resistance. It's the easy way. We could do this the easy way or the hard way.
But the easy way is the wrong answer because you're going to kill you. You thought you were giving a good answer, but you weren't.
Exactly.
What you got to do with that sharp stone, Paul? Saint Paul?
No.
Kill you with it.
No, it was David.
Oh, was it David?
Yeah, David paying for his Michal, Saul's daughter.
Yeah.
So I thought this was funny. I am a bit of a snarky turd on Twitter, even though like on my channel I try to be nice and engaging to people that I disagree with. Blah blah blah. I saw. I think it's really funny now when the idea of a biblical culture war is going on, because they're trotting out things like they're and to be fair, like I think that sexual education, sexual representation needs to come with some levels of disclaimers and age appropriateness, right? So like I saw on Twitter some ridiculous like New Year's Eve drag queen giving birth thing, right? It was very odd and supposed to be family friendly and all that other stuff. It's like, okay, no, like that's not necessary. I didn't think that needed to happen. But at the same time, you'll have these kinds of Christian fundamentalists who are like, that is of the devil. You can't expose children to that.
Well,
When here I am.
to be fair,
Well, hold on. Where here I am is I've got a like my first Bible with the story, the guy who murders an entire group of people with the jawbone of an ass, which is depicted in these cutesy like superhero strong guy with a donkey bone and a little sword fight going
Yeah.
on. But then he is getting with a prostitute who is depicted as this lovely woman in a green dress. She's just trying to be a little sneaky with him. A prostitute who he later accuses of sleeping with all of the Philistines because he says, if you hadn't plowed with my heifer, you wouldn't have solved my riddle. So not only is he sleeping with a prostitute, he's also angry at the prostitute for sleeping with other people. So it's like,
Wait.
this is a story that I'm reading to my kids, basically, in a condensed, whitewashed form.
Wow. Plowed
Right?
with
And
my.
yeah. It's there. Jewish rabbis think that that's a euphemism for you got with her, and that's how you solved my riddle. So yeah, and then he commits suicide and another mass murder, uh, as part of God's judgment, and that's depicted in the little kids' Bible because this is all fine. This is child appropriate.
Wow.
No, it is not. Or like what we were talking about earlier. It's like, yes, I want to take my kid on a tour through First Samuel, where we've got obesity, priestly rape, foreskin payments, postnatal euthanasia. It's a great book for instructing my kids on these very, very moral issues.
Postnatal euthanasia, man. That's like the nicest way I've ever heard that put.
Okay,
Happy
yeah,
as-
Titan, you're right.
Happy as he who commits postnatal euthanasia against the stones. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like,
Great.
well, I'm referring to David and Bathsheba's first child, which it says the Lord Yahweh inflicts with sickness and death for their David's basically rape of Bathsheba. But it's fine when God does it. So if we learned
Right.
anything from Christianity today, I should just make sure that my kids know that. How old do you think should I start telling them about this? 5,
Right.
6?
All right.
With the age you want to sell the child-friendly Bible to or have me read for a bedtime story? Really?
Right.
Oh, there's the other fun rabbinic tradition around Noah, too. I don't know if I've ever told you guys about this one. Where, that weird interaction that Noah has after the flood with his son? The idea of the curse of Ham.
Uh-huh.
The curse of Canaan with Ham.
Yeah, right. So, the flood happens, and non-stamp collector does a great job of saying, like, no wonder I'm a hopeless alcoholic after this. This is fucking crazy what we're going through. Noah makes a vineyard, gets torn up ass drunk, and then he gets up in the morning with his hangover and is apparently naked because that's what you do when you get drunk. You just take off all your clothes. And there's something about, Ham saw his father's nakedness and then tattled on Noah, right, to his brothers, uncovered the nakedness. Yeah. But some rabbis think that uncovering Noah's nakedness was actually Ham raping Noah's wife, because Noah's nakedness, if they're one flesh, Noah's nakedness is not just him being naked. No. It's him and his wife's nakedness, because they're both one flesh. And so Ham basically got in on his wife when they got tore up on the new wine, and Noah caught wind of it from the brothers, who covered up his wife, who was laying next to him, probably.
Oh, it made himself a ham sandwich.
He made himself a ham sandwich, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily,
In-
or the other less favored tradition
Oedipus.
is that Ham raped Noah.
Yeah, I've heard that theory as well. I've heard
But
both that the
yeah.
reason it was to be damned is he did something to his mom, essentially, and
Yeah.
that since the female is property of the man, it was a personal detriment to Noah.
Mm-hmm.
So the reference could be, there's a couple of references that it could have been Noah. It could have been the outcome of the whatever happened was damage to Noah. Even though it could have been done to his mom, it could have been done to something of his property. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was mom, but something to his property, something that Noah is beholden to, something that is Noah's and shouldn't be touched by his son, which could be sexual, it could be property, it could be something
dirty.
like that.
It's weird how that story.
Ham porked her. There we go. You know what I mean?
Ham porked her. So yeah, I mean, this is a kid-friendly story, guys. But notice though how every retelling of Noah's Ark that you get at church often lacks the post-credits scene, right? Like the fact that Noah gets completely drunk, that the whole, what is the curse of Ham? Why does it happen? No one wants to talk about that.
Yeah, the curse of...
And that gets redacted for sure from the kid Bible.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd say 90% of Christians aren't aware that there's enslavement right after the flood.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like you just went through a situation where you've cursed 4/5 of the population, and then you're kind of disgusted with yourself for having created mankind in the first place. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna wipe everything clean. I'm gonna start all over, and this time I'm not gonna curse anybody, except this time I curse somebody.
Yeah, it's something else, man. But I think this kind of stuff is fascinating and interesting to talk about. Like, oh boy, whole book about it.
Mm-hmm.
No. I'm gonna save that for Kip and Dr. Josh to deal with. I'm not touching that. I'm not touching slavery with a 10-foot pole, if you know what I mean.
If you know what I mean.
All right,
Sure.
we're on a kick with that tonight. But we got here through talking about the sexy stuff, the weird stuff in the Bible. talking about which, by the way, no matter when you try to, though I will say this, no matter when you try to date the Exodus, they're fleeing Egypt to basically still go back to Egypt. The promised land is still in Egypt controlled territory, pretty much all
Oh, we
those
lost
time
James.
periods that were viable for the narrative. So go ahead, believe it happened, but they're still walking right in the militarized zones of their empire. So there's that.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So that doesn't.
We've
Oh,
talked about
Jesus.
this before, Titan.
Ooh.
Nitty and I think one of the first times we did a podcast together or a stream together. Where were we on with Kevin?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I think we were on with Kevin. And we definitely talked about the naked man running from, because that's curious. Why would you put that in there? If it's completely it makes no sense.
You know what though? Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering though if there's like
Oh, I
something with like
remember.
a
I remember we were on with
what?
Mark Reed, and Mark
Oh,
Reed had
right.
never heard of it.
I like Mark Reed. He's really smart guy.
Oh, he's very talented. Yeah. Brett, if you do concern yourself, make sure to make an innuendo out of everything, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, there's a couple of spots of homoerotic nature in the Bible.
Oh,
I just
sure.
wish there were
Hold
more
on.
pictures. That's my only complaint.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good for men to get other men drunk. Like I believe Timothy's told to drink a little wine for the stomach's sake, if you know what I mean.
Fun.
Well, so if you're a person of Greek education and familiar with Greek culture, I mean, it could just be someone running from the gymnasiums, right? I don't know if there were any gymnasiums in Israel though, like which like easily explains a running naked man because they did their athletics in the gymnasium naked. So there you go. Like explained, done. Like there's a commotion that it's hitting the gym and I'm running. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm trying to see if there are any other examples in Greek classic literature of a running naked man at the climax of the story. So that to me would be further indication that Mark is willing to borrow from narrative tropes within like Homeric literature or other classical stories, and use them in that gospel narrative for its authenticity or to kindle afresh, right, the meaning of that type or trope in the story as it pertains to Christ. Now, naked guy climaxed while running. No.
Yes.
The story climaxed when the naked man was there, however, if you know what I mean.
If you know what I mean. All right, guys, I'm going to jump out of here. Thank you for having me on tonight. I hope I can
James, thank you very much for hopping on. And
you guys rock.
Whatever you end up doing with your channel, I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. We'll have some great conversations about boobies coming up soon.
Yeah,
Ooh.
boobies, and then
Boobies.
find your and
It'll
then
be
you
a
find your path
biblical
to God
proportions.
and make your
Biblical
fortune
proportions.
Lee Strobel style. I think.
Sure, why not?
All right. Good night, James.
All right, good night, guys.
Archimedes. Hold on. Oh, jeez. Archimedes. Yeah, Archimedes. When was Archimedes? 300 BC. Haha. Okay.
So, have you been watching? Scarlett came out with a video today. I thought was
I need to get on that and hold on. I'm about to find something. Hang on.
yeah. We're all about to find something, if you know what I mean.
Oh, damn it. So, fun fact, the
Think it's a parallel for Homer's writings and Mark.
not Homer, but so the ancient Greeks had a story attributed to Archimedes, the mathematician, that when he made a discovery, he ran through the streets naked, shouting "Eureka!" And so maybe, since this man running naked is at the climax of the story, it's the moment you're supposed to hone in and get the point.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything is now revealed. Everything is now
The insider's
clicking,
flag.
coming together. Yeah. This is the eureka moment of this narrative, right? And or it could be being used as like an inverse, right? Where it's so like the eureka moment you would want that naked person running toward you to give you the revelation. But in Mark's case, the naked man's running away, which is, also a thing in Mark is like irony, right? The moment that revelation should be coming, it's going away, right? The moment that the savior should be saving, he's dying, right? So it could be another moment of inversion that's happening in Mark, where the true revelation of things, the true state of things being known is now becoming ever more elusive as the Messiah is going to his death. So there you go. It was maybe so it probably wasn't John Mark. It's a pay attention right now to this part of the narrative. What's going on? Look more closely.
Yeah. So, on speaking of John Mark, remember the conversation we had about the guy who did a short little story about who authored Mark? And,
Hats off, or
no. We did the kind of a review of his channel called iPub.
oh yeah.
So I'd left some comments, and I've started to just get to the point where I was just going to ignore, and somebody's been responding to the comments.
Ooh.
And I thought it's, it just amazes me how somebody takes the authorship of Mark to the point they take it to and thinks that that's great evidence. I just don't understand how they can say that's great evidence.
Mhm.
For instance, I just want to give you a an idea. What would it be like if we had a scenario where Jesus wrote down what he wanted? It's clear, it's definite, it's gravitas, and we don't really have to decipher it because it's so clear, right? The clarity and gravitas is there as a supernatural being can only deliver. Doesn't matter how it translates, it's there. And Mark is the account of... You ready for this? Mark is the account of his time with Jesus, right? And Jesus is like,
Sure.
Thanks, Mark. That was, I'm so glad. I'm so glad to have worked with you on this. Because here's the thing. I know for a fact there used to be a document called the Gospel of Heaven. Now, who wrote the Gospel of Heaven? Was it Jesus or was it man? Did God already have it prepared and one of the angels came to the tomb at the Jesus' resurrection? Like, hey, look what Dad got for you. Happy resurrection. Yay! Noisemakers. Here's the book you're going to pass out for the next 40 days. And then we're going to have you ascend up to heaven. And then someday you'll get to return. But in the meantime, we need you to pass this out. That's what Dad said. And you got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and they all tell their stories about passing out this book and reading it for the first time. And Jesus writes a nice little thank you for each one of them. Thanks so much, Matthew. You've made a difference in this world. And I thank you. Oh, I sure love you humans that I died for. Isn't this great? I don't know. Does anybody think that if a second century source that's quoting a first century source, that we don't actually have that second century source, but it's affirmed in a fourth century source that goes back to getting the name actually from a late second century source, sounds like a great way to write a book, call it Witness, and, we know that it's a pretty good book because the gleaming endorsement of, he did a really good job remembering things and memorizing, taking them to memorization, even though he may have gotten the order wrong. Like what part of the inerrancy?
The chronology of Mark is a mess.
What kind of inerrancy does that sound like? Doesn't sound like inerrancy to me.
No.
So.
Yeah.
I'm snarky, I know, but.
Yeah, we're insufferable heathens, aren't we?
I just compare it to whether a god would have done it that way or whether human beings would do it that way. But ultimately, I want to make sure that a deceiver didn't do it that way. And that's the rub. Show me the receipts. The deceiver isn't capable of doing it that way. Because that looks exactly what it would look like if this is all deception. All done by humans. It's my story. I'm sticking to it. How much longer you want to go? It's 11:16 my time.
I am determined to find this. Or some level of... I think the best possible correlation in Greek culture or ideas would be the Archimedes myth, but I'm not necessarily seeing anything else of like the only other things that are depicted running nude in Greek classics and myths are centaurs and women.
Centaurs
So
and women, huh?
yeah, yeah. The passage honors. Yeah, I can't find anything closer than that.
Huh.
Yeah, from my Googling skills, because that's what I spend half my day doing on the job is figuring out which discrete terms and strings of sentences are going to get me towards the particular Google result that I need or solution to some weird fringe code problem that I'm trying to debug. So I have to put it together just right to get to the actual article or bug or whatever it is. And then I apply that to trying to find classic Greek texts. uh, but yeah, I don't. Chat, if you have any ideas on how to find me some non-porn, ancient running, naked men literature, once again, that's not porn, if you know what I mean.
No. I don't know what you're
Hit me
talking
up
about.
with them Google links. Well, we did a 3-hour. Woo.
3 hours,
Lot-
1 minute. Oh my goodness gracious.
YouTube's. Yeah, I'm
20
good.
minutes, I said. I wanted to go 20 to 25 minutes. That's what I told James.
Unbelievable.
And here I am.
Unbelievable. It's a miracle.
It's a bloody miracle.
All right, guys. This was a fun time. I'm glad I got to hop on and talk about type tokens and chairs and all the good stuff.
Yeah. All the good stuff.
So just as a couple of notes, though, Brett, I'm more than happy to come on your channel, talk about whatever. Maybe one day you can come on here. If you see me on any other panels, I'm happy to engage you. We could talk about the Bible, Jesus, whatever. Because I know Oz and all of them, and I saw you on there talking with him. I actually commented because you were on there yesterday. So yeah. And then BS, thank you for trying to come in. Seeking, if you listen to this later, take care of yourself.
Do you know
And,
Seeking? What do you know about Seeking? This is the first time I'd seen Seeking before.
Yeah, her and I. She's been a very long time subscriber to my channel, and listening to my deconversion experience, and we've chatted off of stream before on Facebook and stuff like that. She's just a very nice woman. Very nice woman. She has a deep loathing for Kenny.
Wow. I don't mind Kenny so much. I mean, I've never talked to him directly, I don't think. Not like you have. Not like Doug has. I've talked to him briefly. He was one of the ones going on about demons about a month and a half ago.
Yep.
Gotta love something.
Yeah.
But I'm actually talking about demons earlier tonight too.
Seeking was, but in relation to that, that AI app thing, Replica.
Oh.
Yeah. But I always thought when I saw the ads for that thing, it's like a thirst trap on Facebook, so I don't want to have anything to do with it. At least not intentionally. So, yeah. All right. I gotta actually get some sleep before I become a narco nitty and
Yeah,
fall
no
asleep.
narco nitty tonight. Well, let's close it
No.
down. I'm going to do a couple of graphics things as we close out the program. Nitty, wonderful to have you on the program tonight.
And
Or it was wonderful
that's
for me to be
Nitty.
on your program tonight.
Whatever, man.
Whatever. What?
We go. We're coming on the clouds.
Exactly.
No, man.
Coming on the clouds, if you know what I mean.
All right, that's Nitty, man.
All right. Bowtie blessings to you all.
I love the taste of cool, fresh air. It's safe to say, and I've been there. That's you, babe. That's you, babe. The clouds in the sky. You tell me you'll notice them. Tell me